All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me, hear the great music, and I want to say thank you very much for showing up to today's community collab race with Running Retro going up against the Thumb Brothers. This is the official race following the 2-week intermission between their practice race on ECMyers' channel. So a huge thank you to everybody who's showing up to support these runners today. A huge thank you to everyone who showed up to support those runners on that channel. And a tremendous thank you to ECMyersVids for graciously hosting that previous practice race. I'm the Retro Room, so for anybody who hasn't gotten to pay a visit to my channel, I want to say thank you very much for dropping by to show support. There are some wonderful, wonderful people here doing some awesome things, and I really appreciate you guys for doing that. All right. So I want to kind of set a little bit of expectation here. That way you guys know what exactly is going to kind of go on. Kind of set the mood here as the racers are getting ready. Firstly, I want to go ahead and make mention that this is not a no-death run. This is a speed run race. So there will likely be deaths. The rules are if there is a death, that person starts until basically they game over. Once they game over, they start back at 1-1. And they have to continue to run through. Fastest time gets recorded. 3 game overs will be considered a DNF. Did not finish. That will be that person's time. The other person, in that case, the other contestant, will have to just finish the race in order to be considered the winner. It is very possible that these two runners are equally godlike in their speed runs. And there's a good chance that if that is the case, we will see a tie. This round can end in a complete tie, so I want to go ahead and make note of that. And there is at present no tiebreaker. For anybody who is also interested in the community collab races, this is a community of people who are racing locally. Of course, in terms of this community, it's a very small and tight-knit community, I should say, not local in terms of geographic location. If you are interested, thinking that you are good at a game and wanting to run it up against someone else and interested in doing that, please reach out to someone, a member of that community, and we will try and get that all set up and started when we get a chance. That would be a really awesome thing to help this community grow. All right. So the first thing I think I want to do in here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just fade some music out. We'll do this nice and gentle. We'll make it a little quieter. And what I want to do, if I can, is I want to go ahead and bring in, and I just see if this will work here, but I'd like to go ahead and bring in one of the contestants to get ready for a pregame interview, just kind of get in the head of the racer. So we're going to take just a quick moment to do that. We're going to bring in one of the contestants. We're going to get in their head for a minute and see what they're thinking. And see if their eyes are truly on the prize. Okay. Let's try something out real quick here if we can. We'll go ahead and shut that off there. All right. So we should be here with Running Retro. Hopefully everything sounds really nice. Running Retro, how you doing today?
I'm here. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic, fantastic. I know everybody who watched the ECMyers stream is likely very excited to see where this goes. Of course, you were able to etch out some victories in that stream, and I think we're all excited to see how 2 weeks of practice have increased on that. But I'm very curious. What have those weeks of practice looked like for you?
Well, it's been kind of interesting because actually a lot of the strats that Tom and I were doing were slower strats. And so I've been practicing the faster strats, but those entail a lot more deaths. So my completion rate has gone down, although my PB has also gone down. So it's just one of those higher risk, higher reward. And I'm kind of planning on trying to shoot for the moon today on that. So that could bite me or it could go really well.
No, that's absolutely fantastic to hear. And I definitely, having seen just little bits and pieces, little teases there that you've seen or that you've put out, I'm excited to see what you're able to bring into this. And I know that the last race, even though it was a very, very quick kind of race, I think that there were some PBs set. And even though it wasn't an NDR, I think some NDR was even accomplished in that. So I'm definitely excited to see how that grows.
Yeah, Thumb and I actually both PB'd in that. So our last run was a PB, I think by 10 seconds for both of us. So that was and our last run for both of us was NDR when we both died and then we both NDR'd it NPB. So that's kind of a cool thing, and actually I didn't realize that until Thumb timed them and let me know. He's like, "Did you know that that was like 10 seconds faster than your PB?" Like, huh, no, I didn't know that actually.
No, and so I imagine that puts just the tiniest amount of pressure back on him because I mean, getting a PB in that case, we may not see a PB today, and I completely understand that, but I'm definitely curious, knowing that you're someone who's constantly climbing the rank and constantly trying to do better. I'm really curious, what kind of strats might we see from you today that'll help you cut off on today's overall time?
Well, so in 1-2, I always have trouble with that, and I always get a little bit nervous with it because it's a really tight jump to make it between that low wall, that Koopa Troopa, and then land in the Goombas and find time to jump again. And it requires that really tiny short hop. It's just really difficult to do with the NES controller. You kind of get a feel for it, and then you lose that feel and you can't do it for a while. Then you kind of get back into the rhythm of it, and it's just I don't know, it's a weird finicky little thing. And in the last races, I was doing a turnaround jump, which gives me something like 2 more frames, I think, to execute it. And today, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna hold forward and hold run as hard as I possibly can. And then in 8-1, there's a series of pipe jumps, and you do a couple pipe jumps to get an additional spawn, which then despawns so that you never have to stop holding forward. And I'm gonna try for them, and they're one of those weird things that sometimes if you don't pull it off perfectly, the game actually eats your jump input. It puts you in a position where you cannot jump, so you just die. But it also means that I don't have to slow down to avoid fireworks at the end. And those two things right there should shave something like 14 seconds ish.
Hmm.
So it's a huge time save, assuming I don't die. But on the other hand, since a death is about 14 seconds, if I get them both too, it might make up for a single death.
Fantastic. So you're definitely going kind of, it's very all or nothing in this case.
I'm not doing marathon strats. I'm actually gonna try and use speedrun strats, and so it's gonna be tighter, it's gonna be faster, and it's also gonna be a lot more dangerous. And I just thought, Thumb and I have been encouraging each other a lot, and I learned some strats, and he learned some strats, and I've been explaining the ones I learned to him, and vice versa. So he's kind of taught me a couple things, I've kind of taught him a couple things, and I'm just like, well, it's supposed to be a community race for fun, and let's just have some fun. Like, who cares about playing it safe? Let's just go full out.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think we're in for something really special here. I think we're gonna see some really awesome speed running. And I definitely think we're gonna see some really fast times, just even per level, if we are looking at that. So I guess one of the big things that I have, obviously, these interviews are kind of conducted in a blind right now, a double blind. You and Thumb aren't able to do that, but I'm curious as to what you expect looking back after this is all done to see from Thumb and what you expect that he's going to use to try and kind of get the edge.
I'm not sure. I know he's been practicing some of the faster strats himself, and so I think if he really if he's really going for a W, if he plays it safe, he will probably take it. But if he's got sort of the same mindset that I've got, where he wants to push himself, then I think it's probably anyone's race. It's just going to come down to, we might even tie at that point because if we're both going fast and going risky. On the other hand, if I go fast and I'm on my game today and I get RNG patterns that I'm familiar with, then I should be able to beat the game pretty quickly. So instead of beating it around 6 minutes, which was sort of where my average was, my average has gone down when I beat the game to something like 5:35. So I've shaved off a lot on the average time, but again, that percentage of completion has gone down pretty dramatically. So I was at like 50%. I think I'm probably something like 35% with these strats. So it's just a matter of is the muscle memory there or not? And if he does the same thing, I don't know what his consistency is. So he may just blow me out of the water because his consistency is better. But I think if he plays safe, then he's more likely to finish than I am.
Mhm.
And if he plays fast and loose, then we'll just have to see what happens from there.
That's fantastic. Like I said, I think this is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be a great race, and I definitely think that we've got a good chance of seeing some it's a really close race, even a potential tie. I think that's a pretty good. I think that's a pretty good possibility. So yet again, as it is a blind thing, Thumb's not going to hear this directly. He won't hear it until likely later. But I'm just very curious, what words might you have for him going into the race? What words of encouragement, or what do you have for him? What do you have to say to him?
He's I honestly think we're about comparable in skill. In the last race, if I died at any point, then he wins that particular run. So it's just one of those things. We were so neck and neck that if he just keeps his head about him and doesn't worry about the race at all, that's kind of what I would say is, yeah, just have some fun, don't worry about it, and go. And we're both pretty even, and I think that it'll pan out how it pans out, and no matter what way it goes, we've had a bunch of fun learning and understanding the deeper mechanics of this game, and sort of things that he has a proclivity for or I have a proclivity for. It's been really fascinating to see two different brains go at the same thing, and where we each merge and understand something, and where one person understands it and the other person doesn't. And I think I just tell him that I think he has a really really good concept of the game, and he's got a really good game to play too. So if he just does what he does and doesn't worry about it, then he's gonna put on a good show and have a good time. That's about where I'd say.
Well, I think those are great words to share. Very very classy as well. Very classy to the opponent. Well, what I want to do is give you an opportunity to get back there, get back in your racing mindset, and get everything taken care of. But I want to say thank you so much for sharing your mindset with us before you go into this race. And we'll see you at the race.
And thanks for hosting it. We'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much. All right. Let's get something in here so we can hear the background. We're going to let our second contestant take just a second to get everything ready while I prepare some of the stuff and go over some recaps. Firstly, I want to go ahead and say thank you very, very much to everybody who is here in the chat, who's watching this live. Whether you're in the chat or whether you're lurking, we definitely appreciate the participation and the encouragement, and being here to cheer on the community as a whole, or being here to cheer on an independent racer. Nonetheless, it's all great support. So thank you very much to all of you who are here. Really quickly, I did see something I want to go ahead and address. I don't have all of the specifics, but at least to make sure that you're familiar with it. One of the chat, SpeedKing125 says, let's do this really quickly. SpeedKing125 says, so no Discord community for this stuff. There is actually a Discord community set up for this. So if you are interested in doing something with this, the members of the community here, the racers are among them, of course. I've been granted some access, and there are some other members. It looks like Bushido Blade Warrior also has some. So definitely feel free to reach out, and I think everyone's is pretty excited about growing that community. And so if you're happening to need a link, I had the description completely filled up with all kinds of things. I didn't figure it'd be too terribly easy to navigate for links, so that's my apology there. But I know that we'll be happy to get one to you. Okay, for anybody who's just joining this and didn't happen to catch from the very beginning, I want to go ahead and recap one more time that this race is going to be a speed race. It is not a no-death run, so we're likely going to see a couple of deaths here and there. The way that we're playing it is just fastest time basically wins, or someone who completes in the event that the other one doesn't finish, obviously is the winner in that case. It is very possible to get a DNF, 3 game overs, that's 9 total deaths. We'll give you a DNF for that round, and we will likely see a couple of those here and there as well. This is a decently tough, there's a little bit of pressure here, I think, for these guys. But I do think we're going to have one heck of a race here. All right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get ready to speak with our second contestant, kind of get in his head, much the same questions. We definitely want to hear what his mindset might be here. Let's see if we can get him in and ask him a few questions. Of course, I want to go ahead and make it a point at this junction, I guess I should say, to mention that there will be a post-game interview to go through what they kind of recap on what they were thinking and feeling in the moment. So we might very well see that there. If you do have any questions for the runners, or if you have any thing that you're looking to learn a little bit more about, specifically strats, or if you have just general questions about their run, how they got started, those types of things, definitely feel free to have those ready and share those. Hey there, Thumb.
Hello?
How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing thumbs up.
Having a thumbs up day. Fantastic. So I think everybody here we've actually got some great support, and I want to say, like I said, thank you again to everyone here. Thank you, of course, Thumb, for letting me be a part of this. I think everybody is really excited to see what you're going to be bringing to the table, and I know you've been practicing like crazy. So I'm going to ask a lot of the same questions I'd asked before, because I feel like that there's going to be a unique approach. What does your practice look like for these past 2 weeks since the past run?
To be honest, I I hope this comes off the right way, but after the first race, I did not touch Mario 1 at all that first week. I didn't start touching the controller until Wednesday, this Wednesday. So I took about like 10 days off from it just because I was doing other things. And in terms of research, I did watch a couple videos during that time span, though, at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got like a sense of some tutorials, in the sense of some possible strats. And I just felt like I need to take a little of a break from the game and just come back fresh on like that last week. So I did put some good practice in, Wednesday, Thursday, like the last 3 or 4 days, just as a good, warm up and beyond, to kind of, get those jitters out of the way and practice some new strats.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I mean, I think that's a great approach too. It's kind of cool off a little bit and kind of come into it fresh. But you did mention that you're going to be trying out a couple of fresh strats in this case, and I'm very curious, what kind of strategies that should we be looking out for? I mean, what do you think is going to help you kind of cut that down?
In terms of the first half of the game, which is World 1 and World 4, mm-hmm. there won't be any new strats for those. I'm still going to be 1-2 that turtle. I know Running Retro kind of seems to have a good handle of it. I guess I'm mentioning this for like history purposes or even like video game culture purposes. I am playing this on the NES Mini.
Yes.
But this time I'm playing with an original NES controller that I do have. My NES is just kind of kaput right now. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the NES controller will help me to do pipe jumps better at 8-1. Mm-hmm. But that's still a risky strat. So since it's a new strat, it's like in test phase right now. So I probably could do pipe jumps probably about maybe 35 to 50% of the time. So it's 50-50. So it's like it's really up in the air. Literally with Mario up in the air. So I think the Piranha Plant is going to be getting the best of me a lot when I go all out here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take some more chances at 8-1. I think 8-1 is the biggest level of really to focus on.
Mm-hmm. I definitely would agree with that. For me, it's always, I know for me it's always 8-3, but I know you're a master at that, so I don't think we have any issues there.
Oh, 8-3, 8-3 gives me the jitters because it's a bit random. Mm-hmm. Although I feel a little bit more confident getting a better handle of the Hammer Brothers a little bit. I feel like probability-wise, I have a better chance at 8-3 than I did in the warm-up break.
Very nice. Well, and I know we're definitely excited to see that all put to application there. I do want to go ahead for the audience's sake really quickly and expand on something you said there. It is key to note that as he said, the Thumb Brothers will be playing on the Mini. he will be playing with an original controller. So I believe that the controller is going to help kind of cut down on the latency that you have. But I believe playing on a mini still has there's a little bit of a difference in terms of the way that the frames are interpolated and such versus running retro, who's actually using the original hardware. Is that correct?
Yes, there are some instances where I can't do certain strats not using the original NES. For example, in 8.1, I mean, sometimes you get mixed up with 8.1 or 8.2. Actually, it's 8.1, where on the NES Mini, if I hit the Koopas, the 3 Koopas that are random before the 3 Goombas, those Goombas don't go away. So with running retro, those Goombas will go away. So that means I have more obstacles. But at the end of the day, I still feel like it's a good learning experience to kind of see different different hardware. It's always a good like educational experience, and also it just shows you that there's a lot of strats in this that we still have a lot to uncover. Which is, I mean, it's been fun learning strats in increments, and I think that's how we both approached it.
Very nice. So I mean I definitely agree that in this case I think we're going to see some different strats, obviously because the hardware being a little bit different. We're going to have to see some of those. But I do want to go ahead and emphasize back. I do think from what I've seen that this is not anywhere near a clean cut for either of you guys. I think both of you guys are still going to have to come out raring and ready to go, and I think you both are going to bring that to the table. I expect this to be a really tight race. I do want to go ahead and ask you here that I know that these are, like I said, these are double blinds. You can't see what Running Retro's done. He can't see what you've done. But I am curious, when we go back and look back at this, what are you expecting to kind of see Running Retro employ to edge out the strats and kind of circumvent the strats that you're going to be bringing to the table?
Well, there's going to be one old strat which he still has an edge over me, and then one new strat which he kind of learned recently. So I think that's going to be interesting. The old strat is in 1-2, where the Koopa is, and those Goombas underneath that tight block. I was using a Switch controller first, and then I was using the mini controller. I couldn't do those. I couldn't do pipe jumps with those controllers. But since I got the NES controller, I could try out that 1-2 strat, but I'm not. So Running Retro I feel like he will try out 1-2 a lot. And his new strat is 8-4, which is the castle level, where there's a pipe where there's 2 Koopas, and he was telling me that he's been doing the pipe clip. I started trying that like yesterday or 2 days ago, and I just didn't have the time to really put the study session into it. But I did learn some strats myself on that to cut my own time.
Very nice. So very adaptive in this case, which I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the 8-4 strats for certain, because I do know that everything else kind of running into 8-4 can be chaotic, but 8-4 seems to be where I've seen those last minute trip ups just go insane sometimes. So I absolutely understand that. I'm looking forward to it. I guess the last thing in this case, and yet again, likely Running Retro won't hear about this until after the fact, is what words do you have to share with him, whether those be words of encouragement or just a message to him that he'll basically hear a little bit later.
Keep on running. I had to throw in a pun there. Think this collab has been really great. I think that to kind of do something like this is I don't know, I can't really put to words. It's really meaningful, because it's like you could kind of talk to somebody about it and kind of share some tips or strats. So I've really enjoyed the journey, and as for the race, I say just do your best. Like don't worry about no death run, don't worry about PB. Just maybe test out some strats and just have fun.
That's it's definitely. I mean, and this is one thing for the audience to see as well as yourself. I mean, sportsmanship here is absolutely not in short supply here. So I really think that's I think that's a fantastic. I think those are fantastic words of wisdom.
That's because I'm playing. I'm amateur playing. So my older brother, expert, he doesn't have the quite sportsmanship I do. So he's not here today. He's doing some strategy guide, lot hunting. He's doing some hunting for strategy guide. So he cannot make it today, but he's given me some notes and he gave me some encouragement. And he also said GG and GL to Running Retro as well. Good game and good luck. So that's high praise from the quote unquote expert.
Fantastic. It's nice to hear that experts willing to give the sportsmanship of at least the letters. But no, I think that's fantastic. So like I said, everybody I think is looking forward to this race. I think it's going to be great. Obviously, no pressure for you guys in terms of running it. You guys are gonna do fantastic. But we definitely are excited to see it. I'm going to let you get back and into the racing mindset, and we'll be ready to start here in just a moment. But I want to say to you, and on behalf of myself and the audience, I want to say good luck, and we look forward to seeing you on that race.
I thank you very much, and thanks for hosting, and thanks to everyone who happens to spectate. We appreciate the support, and as always, we hope you have a thumbs up day.
Fantastic. All right, so we've heard the inside of the mind of both of the runners. We've gotten to hear kind of what strategies they're looking for. We're going to take just a quick break, a short break here to make sure that everybody's kind of getting ready for the races, and then we'll transition over and get ready to start our first race. Yet again, I want to say thank you very much for everybody who showed up and is showing up still, and everybody who's participating in the chat. We really appreciate the support, and we appreciate the fact that you've come out here to cheer on some great racers and a great community. If you are interested in being part of that community, please get in contact with, after this, of course, Running Retro, the Thumb Brothers, myself, someone who can give you information that you need to get into the Discord and help start running for yourself. I'm going to go and get some music going. And let's see if we can do it. Might be a little jarring here, but hopefully not too bad. There we go. All right, I'm going to go and check in with them really quickly, and then we'll get ready to start our first race. All right. Go ahead and fade that out. We've gotten word from our racers that they are about ready to begin the first round. So let's go ahead and switch over to the live here where we're going to see their screens. And I want to go ahead and make note of a few things before I go ahead and let them know. Race 1, 2, and 3. There are going to be 3 races regardless. This is not necessarily a best of, and it is absolutely possible that this can end in a full tie, either all 3 rounds being tied through the game over clause, essentially, is what I'm looking for. Either racer can do that. You'll also notice that down at the bottom we have clocks for both racers. These clocks are just for your point of reference. If you're focusing on one of their screens, they do start at the same time. However, they won't end until the last racer finishes, and the clock will start when the first racer starts. So if there's a little bit of a deficit there, then that's going to count kind of against that racer for just a bit. So we're going to get ready to get them a countdown, and we're going to get ready to get them going. So. You also note we're going to have we'll have some audio going here in just a moment. Of course, it's silent right now because we're on the iCatch, so we're going to get that going here in just a second. All right, and hopefully we'll see that here. Okay, and the races have begun. Some had a bit of a start there. Now I want to go ahead and make a point for your guys' reference that you're hearing the audio only from one. Let me go ahead and turn this down just a little bit. Don't want it to be too loud. But you guys are only hearing the audio from one. I believe that's going to be from Running Retros. We're getting a nice, hopefully clean audio feed. And we see both of them rush through 1-1. So my apologies for the commentary. I wanted to offer clarification, but we will have 3 rounds to kind of go through strats. We're going to see the first hard level, kind of difficult level here with 1-2, especially for speedrun strats here. And so Thumb does have just a bit of the edge here. And he's actually playing pretty safe right there. Actually, that's one of the more difficult jumps is in front of the Koopa. We actually saw that. We saw Running Retro have that occur. I don't think I've ever seen that happen to Thumb before there, but he lost to that pit. The biggest piece right here is getting the small jumps right after this Koopa. So you have a small jump, and then you have another small jump right after that. Holding onto the button actually punishes you by getting you to hit the Goomba that follows. So, and we can see that jump is remarkably tight, but we see Thumb etch out into the warp pipe for 4-1. And we see the first game over from Running Retro, so that's going to be put on the tally for the DNF on this. Now, in my opinion, 4-1 is a very kind of flowy stage. It's very easy. For anybody who's looking to start off with speedrun strats, another thing to take note of is you'll notice that they're doing some really interesting piranha jumps. Even though the piranha plants are fully extended, we can actually see Mario clip right through the leaves of those, and that's because the hitbox is essentially in the stem. It's not the most remarkably difficult trick, but we're definitely seeing it executed really well here, and it's easy to miss a jump. So we're definitely seeing some skill already. Seeing Thumb go into 4-2, so the second tunnel here, and we're seeing Running Retro go back into 1-2 to see if he can get a feel for that Koopa jump there. Now there is a strategy right here in 4-2 where you can actually hit the vine and then wrong warp on the pipe. I don't believe that that's going to be in play today, but we may see a wrong warp in 8-4, so if you're interested in what a wrong warp looks like, you may have an opportunity to see that. We'll take a peek at it. And Thumb's already up the vine and ready for the second warp pipe, so he's actually speeding through this quite well. And we see Running Retro also jump into the fourth pipe there. And so he's back in this flow stage. We shouldn't see any issue on Running Retro side. Like I said, 4-1 is a very flowy stage, very easy to get going. But we're definitely going to start seeing, I think, the difficulty ramp up for Thumb. We do see him take a safety strat there when missing that pipe jump, so that's definitely something that's going to, I think, benefit him. We also want to make a key point here, and we see Running Retro kind of having this, being close to that, is we notice that if anyone hasn't run these, the last number of the timer is very crucial. Okay, we see Thumb miss a pipe jump there, but it's definitely not for lack of trying. That's a very tough strat right there. The idea, I think, is to jump on the front end of that pipe, a short jump over to the back end of the pipe, and then off into the flagpole. No, but if someone pulls the flag when the timer is in the 1, 3, or 6 positions, we'll actually get fireworks. 3 and 6 are decent time losses, up to, I think, 10 seconds for the 6 fireworks, 9 or 10 seconds, but a 1 firework doesn't have a loss of time. So definitely something that's interesting to see. We see Running Retro coming back up to Warp In. He's in World 8, but we also see some really great pacing right now for Thumb on 8-1. So it definitely looks like that the time loss from the game over from Running Retro is very possibly not going to hold him back in this. This race is going to be quite a lot tighter than I anticipated just out of the gate. All right. Now this is something. This is what I kind of expected to see something decently close here. Oh, we see I guess we're seeing a pretty. Yeah, that was exactly what I was expecting to see. Those are the pipe jumps there on Running Retro screen. I was gonna say we see a pretty flowy run right here. I think he was set up for those pipe jumps really well. So it was definitely impressive to get to see that. I think that was pretty amazing. And we did see the game over for Thumb on that too. So this is actually going to create a bigger deficit than I anticipated between the two of them. This is yet again for anybody who's here that didn't hear the rules of this. This is not a no death run. So this can be really, really tricky. We are allowing 3 game overs per round maximum. So if somebody ends up with 3 game overs, very good chance that that's just going to be a DNF for them. Both runners DNF. We'll see it as a tie. So it is, like I said, it's possible that both racers can tie via do not finishing, and this whole thing could end in a tie. So, but we do see Thumb pretty confidently coming back from 1-2, and now what's really going to test it, what's really going to narrow that margin, is seeing Running Retro hitting these more difficult 8-2s, 8-3s, and Thumb is kind of being able to coast along on levels that I think he's got safer strats on. I think he may be able to narrow that gap a little bit. I'm going to make sure I'm over here on the timer real quick, because I want to be able to stop that in a timely fashion, no pun intended. We already see Thumb coming back into 4-1 again, and of course, like I said, we shouldn't see any problems here, but this 8-2 run gets remarkably tricky, especially when we start seeing the Koopa patterns right there, which in some cases we see the collision. Yeah, that's about what I was thinking. A lot of times the patterns for those Koopas actually have a little bit of RNG to it. Anyone who's not familiar with that, it's just the randomness of it essentially. But we do see that Koopa pattern gives Running Retro his second game over, so we do have a potential here to see him really clinch it here in the third, or to potentially finish the first round with a DNF. And Thumb is going really strong. So while both people are in the castle, granted there's a little bit of a delay between what you guys are getting to see and what I'm getting to see, but I want to go ahead and make sure to invite anybody, yet again, if you are interested in doing a community race with someone, you have a game that you're good at, and you think you can do it quickly and all that kind of good stuff, odds are we can find somebody out there who will be willing to race it. Let a member of the community know, and we'd be happy to try and set something up at some point to further this. This is all about growing this community, so definitely something worthwhile. All right, so there's definitely this is back and forth, and it is kind of how I anticipated. And I anticipate in this first round right here, we're gonna see. I think this is honestly going to be their trickiest one. In the previous one, 1 and 3 were solid runs. 2 was kind of the trickiest one for them. I really feel like with the practice that they have been able to put in, we're going to see a ramp up where 1's really going to be tricky. 2, I think, is going to be a little bit smoother, and then 3, of course, I think is going to be their smoothest. It's worth noting that despite the trickiness that was 2 in the previous one, they both did post PBs, and they both posted NDRs effectively for the runs that they completed, which is really, really cool. So I think that this is a little bit more. There's a little bit more at stake here with this being the official run versus the practice run. There we go. But we're seeing a lot of back and forth. What I think we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of back and forth here with the game overs. So yet again, we're seeing Thumb where running retro was just a moment ago, and this is really giving us a kind of. I think this is going to be as tight and as close as I thought it to be. But we do definitely have Thumb doing really great on 8-2. He's playing a little bit safer from the Cooper patterns, which I completely respect. He's definitely going fast, but he's pulling a couple safer strats there for those Koopa spawns. But right on his tail, because of those safer strats, we've got running retro. I mean, he is right on his tail at 8-1. And Thumb running into 8-3. That is a tricky stage. Now, we did hear that Thumb found 8-2 to be a little bit more tricky, so we'll see what happens. I know 8-3 for me is definitely the worst. Speaking of what we had done before, the Piranha Plant jumps, we see running retro jump into a Piranha Plant just a little early and hit that stem where that collision article is, and that's where we notice that's where we lose a Mario, basically. So, that one was just a little bit early as well. We also see Thumb lose a life on that, but 8-3 is definitely... the World 8 is definitely a place to lose... this is definitely a place to lose a Mario. I want to go ahead and say also thank you very much, by the way, to the chat and everyone who's here. I want to say thank you to everybody who's popped in here and who's commenting. And yet again, this is one of those awesome things. Excuse me. It's one of those awesome things where everybody comes up and shows the support to the community. So thank you so much for coming here and showing support, cheering on these awesome racers. And thank you to the racers again, and ECMyersVids for letting me be a part of this and helping me get this all set up so that you guys can do this awesome event. This is really cool. So I will say I was having a conversation really quickly with Running Retro, and that's Running Retro's third, so that's going to be a DNF for him. So we're going to go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and switch over to Thumb's audio so we don't lose. Oh, there we go. We'll switch over to Thumb's audio so you should be able to hear it. There we go. And I believe Thumb's got one more. Let me get my mouse off the screen there. Sorry about that. But we were talking to Running Retro, and Running Retro had brought to my attention something I think is really big for speedruns, and that is Mario's right foot, the tip of his right foot, right toe, is very possibly the hit collision article which dictates his jumps. When his right foot's hitting the ground, then he's able to jump. And whenever we have those those of us who have played it who have those frustrating eaten inputs, it's apparently because his right foot's not touching the ground. Which is really interesting because I think we saw that and he fell into the gap right at the end of that. Alright, so right now, basically, Thumb doesn't know this. This is a double blind here. They can't see each other's screens and streams, and they don't know what's happening. They have a general idea that one has finished. They do not know why that one is finished, whether that be a DNF or whether that be the run. But Thumb is still encouraged and incentivized right now to give it his all, because at this point, he either wants to come in as quickly as he possibly can in under Running Retro's time, or in the case of this, a DNF, we actually might see Thumb finish at just finishing the game, and finishing the game will actually give him that victory for round 1. And yet again, it's very possible right here on this very beginning piece that we will see some 8-2, 8-3 issues here. We may see a third game over, and we may see a tie. We may actually see a DNF on both cases. And that's definitely understandable. So, all right, Thumb going into 4-2 here. And I don't anticipate, truly with this particular one, I don't anticipate we're going to see really any issue with Thumb's performance until we hit, I think, 8-2. Just because at this point he's gotten these strats down really well. We can even see where he bonks and hits the wall perfectly, so he gets that fine jump. It's a really, really nice. It's a really, really nice and solid strat. And Thumb entering into the warp again for 8. So this is where I think things are going to get a little bit tricky here. Oh my goodness! So I didn't anticipate the pipe jump being like that. And so in his case, he's actually doing the pipe jumps versus just jumping over them. And I don't know if that works the same way as it does in the original, but in the case of pipe jumps, a lot of those pipe jumps can either help you get an advantage or despawn an enemy. You can despawn an enemy in some cases, or you can actually get an advantage on position. I don't know though if that's the same case. And we definitely saw that pipe jump kind of luck seemed to run out at the very end there. That's a little bit of bad luck there. But definitely very skilled pipe jumps through 8-1. Very impressive. Now, yet again, you guys know this and I know this, but Thumb doesn't know this. All he has to do is finish, so he's still going to go as quickly as he possibly can to try and beat or get the fastest possible time. He's not aware of what all had happened over there on Running Retro screen. So we're definitely seeing some. Look at that beautiful pipe jump. We're definitely seeing some really, really nice speed running here though. And the last major obstacle there is, of course, the end stairs having the gaps. We definitely see a lot of eaten inputs there. I think it's what we saw get the third game over there for Running Retros, that eaten input or that collision article not hitting, falling down into that hole. All right. Well, the biggest issue that we're going to see here, and we're definitely going to see a lot of, I think we're going to see a lot of deaths, and I think we're going to see a lot of issues here, are through the World 8 levels, particularly 2 and 3. I don't think we'll see it on 4. We saw an eaten input off of the Bullet Bill. He's got one more life to go before we see it as a DNF. I'm gonna keep my finger on the timer here if I can. But there's a good chance. We do see there's a good chance we're going to see the Hammer Brothers, but the Koopas. So what we're seeing there is 14-26-56, and I believe that that's going to be a DNF there. So let's take a peek. All right, yeah. So we definitely see a DNF. That's going to consider that. We're going to consider that as a tie for both of them. So let's go ahead and pop that up real quick if you can. Boom. You get to see the nice little logo there. It's half and half of their logos. That's the tie logo. We definitely got to see this. We definitely got to see some really interesting strats, but I know that in this case, I think we're seeing a lot of the jitters, the pregame and the pre-race jitters, and I think we're getting a lot of that out of their system in this run. Let's see if I can't. You might hear some clickety clacks. I'm sorry, I have a loud keyboard. Let's see if we can't get that timer restarted and ready to go. I want to go ahead and just make a brief while they're getting back into kind of a ready set here. I want to go ahead and make just kind of a brief series of observations. These were honestly really solid strats, seeing those pipe jumps from Thumb, as well as seeing what we had from Running Retro coming to the early World 8. But we see a lot of the eaten inputs, I think, in this case. And we're definitely seeing the challenges of both runners on their respective hardwares, kind of having to overcome the despawn, not being able to despawn things on the NES Mini there, the Classic. Yet again, I want to say, I think I say this, and like I said before, I don't mind sounding like a broken record if the music's good. Thank you guys so very much for being here, for watching these races, and for showing support. And if you are interested in being a part of the community, please reach out to, after this race, somebody within the community, myself, ECMyersVids, Running Retro, Thumb Brothers, and they, I'm sure, are happy to get you a link to the Discord and get you going on your first speed runs or series of speed runs. I think that's going to be really great. I'm going to go ahead and get ready and check and see if we have, if we are ready. And I kind of do wish I had put this in here. I don't think I had at this point, but we have, I didn't think of putting an output capture in this. I should probably do that for additional musics. But I didn't think to really do that in this case, just because I didn't know how quickly we would have gone from one race to the other. So hopefully the dulcet tones of my voice are calming and somewhat pleasant. Okay, looks like we are. They're not quite ready yet, so we're gonna have that. We're gonna have them get set up really quickly. One of the big things that I do want to go ahead and make mention of on this channel as well is I want to say, and I've said this again, I thank the people of the chat, but I also want to thank you. Thank ECMyersVids. I should also say this for anybody who is watching an ECMyersVid or watches ECMyersVids. happy belated birthday. I did get to catch part of your birthday stream, but thank you so very much for helping put together the awesome overlays that we have here. Some of this stuff is mine, but most of this stuff is yours. You did an awesome job of hosting the previous one, helping work out the kinks and get this one going. And it truly wouldn't be possible for this to happen and as high quality if it hadn't have been for the times that you've put into this and that you've basically helped with this. So thank you so very much. If you watch us after the fact, of course, I think we have that in the description as well. So, all right, and we've got a ready from one of them. We don't have a ready yet from the other one, so I think we're going to have that fairly soon. I want to go ahead and also apologize. I know I'm not commenting on a lot of the chat in that case, as they've kind of given me commentary, but the commentary is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to say that. So I'm going to, if I go to the commentary now that we're waiting, please forgive me if I didn't catch earlier comments. There's so many great people here showing so much support, and I am a finite man with finite resources, so I'm very I'm stretched a little bit thin here in that. So I apologize. I want to say thank you very much. Oh, by the way, thank you very much, Bushido Blade. Hello to everybody in the chat who said hello, and I didn't say hello to, by the way. Victory Leo, Omega A, Zombie, Bushido Blade, Resvergam, all of you guys. Aaron H. All of you guys, thank you so much for showing up. I normally make it a point on my channel to go through and speak with everybody, but this is a little bit trickier. So, all right. And it looks like they're ready for the second one. So let's make sure we're ready for the timer firstly, and I'm going to go ahead and get them a countdown. If you'll forgive me for just 1 second of silence. All right, we've given them the countdown, so we're just waiting for their signal so I can get this clock started for them. I am super excited to see where round 2 brings us. Now, I do think there's a little bit of a delay between what they see and what I see and what you guys are seeing, so please forgive there's a little bit of silence in that as we get those kinks worked out there. And we're definitely seeing everybody wiggle around. And we've got the timer started with Thumb getting a little bit of advantage in this case. Now, the audio that you're hearing now is going to be Thumb's audio. We're actually kind of reversing this. I don't know if there's any sort of pattern to how well people are doing based off of that, the audio that I'm using, if there's any sort of marathon look there, but we're going to switch back and forth, I think, for your listening pleasure. Finally, click live chat. So much for those 100 messages, Omega Ace. Thank you very much. All right, we're seeing we're seeing a lot tighter, and I didn't anticipate this considering the start, but we are seeing a decently tight 1-1 race there coming into 1-2. We do definitely see a little bit of that late start. We do for running retro, I guess, but bear in mind for anybody who's looking at this for the Speedrunners Archives style of timing, when the round gets timed, we actually don't account for that. We would start the lines, we'd line the races up and time them based off of that. That having been said, in this case, in a live scenario, so many things can happen. It's not just about the timer, it's about someone actually getting from the beginning to the end. Okay, and we're seeing some challenges there for Thumb on 1-2, trying to get that same jump down. On the other side of things, I haven't seen that happen yet again for running retros. There's some different stuff here that I'm seeing happen, where he hit the second piranha plant. There's something about the underground stage, well, specifically this underground stage, that just throws off my timing on those pipe jumps as well. But we do see the pipe jumps being off being Thumb's first game over there. So that's going to make a little bit of, well, we also saw another one too. It looks like it's actually a lot more even than we anticipated as we see World 1-2 kind of best some of those tricky jumps, both the pipe jumps and the timing of the Koopa to Goomba underneath that those bricks. We see them succumb to that. Sega Blocks says, "Hey, Retro Room." Hello, Sega Blocks. Thank you so much for being here. The Retro Room is recorded in front of a live studio audience. Eddie is distributed by Warner Television Distribution. Thank you very much, by the way. I I hope my voice isn't too unpleasant to listen to in the break of silence, but we have such a great race here. All I can do is talk about it. I don't have any way to really. I don't have any way. I can't really steal the show. These guys are great, and they're running and doing something very difficult, trying to grow a community. I think it's fantastic. We do see Running Retro jump over, finally getting ready for the first warp and going into pipe 4. Please excuse a break in commentary really quick. I'm gonna take a sip of water if you don't mind. All right, and we're seeing a really tight, like I said, we're seeing a really tight race based off of both of them game overing in reverse order. We're actually seeing Running Retro have a little bit of a lead here. For anybody who's just jumping in or hasn't played this game and didn't happen to hear commentary prior, 4-1 is a very easy flow stage for a lot of runners, so in this case we shouldn't see a lot of difficulty, although it is absolutely possible to trip up maybe 1 in 10 times. So we see both of them come out with no issue there, and we're going into 4-2. I don't anticipate seeing a bunch of issue in 4-2 as well, as you only play the first very small percentage of the game. And we see Running Retro hit the vine brilliantly. Now, yet again, I made mention of this. We haven't gotten to the other one for pipe jump or wrong warp, but we also see a lot of these. Jumps that they're making are very precisely calculated to make sure that they're hitting the vine immediately coming off of the lift, so that they're not actually having to jump back up after they've revealed the invisible blocks. We're seeing a lot of that. So one of the things I think there is to appreciate is the timing of some of these jumps are absolutely insane. Even if they look like a fairly standard jump, some of the timing of this is absolutely insane to get. And we see Running Retro using the clipping trick we spoke of earlier, where he's jumping over fully extended piranha plants. And what we're really going to be looking for on this is eaten inputs towards the last stairs, or we're going to be looking at a couple of Koopa spawns. And that's where that gets a little tough right there, that pipe jump. Now, we notice that this pipe jump is not difficult. I'm sorry, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. It's not difficult to see why it's hard. Let's clarify. Thumb, like a beast, right over that pipe jump. We do see Running Retro having a little bit of issue with some of his pipe jumps here. Very understandable. It's a very, very delicate trick to hit. You actually have to do a very immediate button press, and there's a very small window for that. And we see Thumb get over what I would anticipate to be a difficult part. I was expecting that we would see maybe an eaten input there. We didn't. We saw him come through, so he's going to be going on to 8-2 and taking the lead over Running Retro. But Running Retro is close behind on his 8-1. It's really going to matter if he can get past that pipe jump at this point. And we see a little bit too early right there. He misses that pipe. So this is going to be a point I think we should definitely keep an eye on right here. We see a game over from those pipe jumps, but it's definitely one of the trickier jumps in the game, so I completely can see why. But that will give Running Retro his second game over. And we see a lost life there from Thumb Brothers. He's still going strong on his second series of lives, so he does have a little bit of an advantage. Oh, and he didn't play very safe with the Koopa spawn, so he's going to have to deal with the Spinies on that, which is something I didn't anticipate him taking, the kind of a safe, slower strat there. Going to the chat really quickly. We've got Resvergim says, if I were trying to do this, it would be a good thing to mute my mic because of all of the obscenities I'd be shouting at the screen. The runners are currently muted, so we have no idea what they're saying, but you could be on the right page there. We see Thumb Brothers actually take his second. Now, yet again, we're seeing a lot of issue in the... I could be wrong here. I was going to say he's going back and forth. I think that's only his second, so I was wanting to make sure you knew. We do see a lot of the difficulties coming up in the later stages. Typically, 2 and 3 are going to be the big ones, 8-2, 8-3. There's no real shortcut through it. You just have to run those, and so we see that, and I think 8-4, honestly, is kind of a breather at the end of all of that. Lame Dad Retro Gamer says, I would be breaking controllers. You know, to be honest, I think being in the gaming community, a lot of us have a couple of extra controllers, so breaking them is probably a reality at this point rather than a scenario. I think you're on the right page there for certain. All right, so we're seeing the flow stage again for Running Retro, so he's got a pretty healthy lead right now over Thumb. But yet again, going back into the early 8 world or 8 levels, I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting strats, and I think we're going to see a lot of obstacles that are going to kind of push that envelope closer together. I made mention of this in the previous one, and it was absolutely the case that we saw until Thumb had a decent enough lead over the game overs here. We see Running Retro into 4-2. Just taking care of the simple vine jump here. Now, one of the things I want to go ahead and make mention is, even though that this hasn't been announced as a small Mario run, you'll notice that these guys aren't actually picking up any power-ups, so they're not doing any of the breaking strats or any of the kind of cheese strats that you'd see typically in 1-2. These are small Mario only strats. This is a one-hit deal, and they have to go. All right, so we're seeing a remarkable dichotomy here. We have Running Retro in 8-1, which is the beginning of the tough stages, but we do see Thumb in 4-1. So we have one that's in the difficult stages and one that's in the flow stage right now. Yet again, one of the things that can absolutely add to it can actually diminish the boundary between those two, or the time deficit between the two of them. Let's see here. We have Redford Game says, "Don't spike a controller on a carpeted floor." Let's see if I can do that really quickly. My chat window's so small. But says, "Don't spike a controller on a carpeted floor because the bounce back could break a window. Only my gullible mum bought the story that the cat broke the window." I think we all have stories like that, except for I don't think all of us had the cat. We may have all made the cat excuse, but I don't know that we all had the cat. That's funny. All right, so here we are back. We're still seeing Running Retro in 8-1. We do see him get the pipe jump, which I'm super excited about. That means that this is going to be, it's far from over, but at the same time, I think that this is going to be a little bit interesting to see where he's tripped up, or if he gets tripped up. We saw in the last round that he also had an eaten input that caused him to not be able to climb the stairs, resulting in that last game over. We see Thumb confidently go for the pipe jump, but we do see the pipe jump thwart him there a little bit. The thing about this is we're definitely seeing the fast strats, but in a lot of cases, this is one thing I want to convey, and I think it's very difficult to convey, is how precise these button presses have to be. It's not just a matter of going quickly and hitting the A button, it's a matter of knowing when not to push the button all the way down or hold it. And we're going to see 8-3 here from Running Retro as he jumps in on the flag, high flag strats with the bullet bill in tow. And no fireworks, which is fantastic. That's another thing to keep in mind. Yet again, like I said, 1, 3, or 6, in this case 3 and 6, keeping that off of the timer while doing these runs. We also saw him narrowly avoid that bullet bill. I didn't actually expect him to do that. So the biggest thing he's going to have to worry about here are hammer bro patterns, and a lot of this is read and recognition. There are a couple of gaps, so if you actually jump and catch Mario just a pixel above the hitbox of the hammer bro, you can actually take him out so long as you let off of the jump button before you start your descent. And we do see 8-3. We see that we do see the 8-3 hammer bro take Running Retro out for a DNF in this case. Lame Dad Retro Gamer says, "Just don't spike the baby." Nice. I know, and Omega A says better than spiking. Whoops, excuse me. Omega A says better than spiking the cat and blaming it on a controller. It's interesting how many times inanimate objects do things that I don't want them to. All right, so yet again, for people who aren't aware, who are coming into this late, this is double blind. So Running Retro not being done, Thumb is right now going as fast as he possibly can because he does not know that Running Retro is at DNF right now. His objective is to try and pass with the fastest possible time he can, and of course it's a pride thing as well. And we see Thumb use that strat that I just spoke about, letting off on time. It looks like we might actually have a nice completion. Took it a little bit safe on that and actually hit it at the bottom, so that's going to slow his time down just a bit. Hitting the top of the flagpole, there's a little bit of an animation, or you have bottom block glitch. I almost said something bad because my tongue got tangled. So yeah. AR Video Games says, "Retro pays us good money to be entertaining in the chat." Oh, if I could, I would. You guys are great, though. You guys are fantastic nonetheless. You guys are infinitely more entertaining, likely, than I could ever be, but which I appreciate that you're entertaining the chat as well. And hopefully I am. Hopefully these speedrunners are doing an awesome job of keeping you entertained as well. Omega says, "Poker references are brought to you by the Retro Room." Play the card you're dealt. Okay, so this is a really tricky part. We're seeing 8-4, we're seeing the warp pipes, and we're actually going pretty quick. This firebar that you just see him dodge barely is actually, he took a very safe strat on that, but it's actually one of the most remarkably difficult things to dodge. It does require some really intricate timing. We see him all the way up to Bowser. But we do see him DNF on 8-4 Bowser. My goodness, we do see a DNF on 8-4 Bowser. It was so close. It was such a close race. We thought we might see Thumb do that. And we definitely saw, in my opinion, an exemplary run. Let's go ahead and pop this out here in a winner to tied. So at this point, if anybody, the person that finishes this last round, I should say this, the person that finishes this last round wins the whole shebang. That definitely brings this down to the wire. Omega makes a joke. He said intimate. I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say intricate. But glad you caught that though. All right. So like I said, we definitely saw this. We're getting the runners ready. The runners are getting ready. I'm going to go ahead and switch things over. I'm going to we'll switch audio back over to running retros just for the fun of it. And but yeah, it was very, very close. We see Yugoslav says thumbs sad. Yeah, when you hit 8-4, the biggest obstacle, if it's not that second fire bar there, is absolutely the hammer Bowser, and it's literally read and recognition. There are very few patterns that I am aware of that you can just trick him into doing. There's the gapped hammer pattern, and then there's the jump, and those are the two, and I don't know if there's any way to really set those up. It's really that hammer brother above that. Lame Dad Retro Gamer says, shebang, I know what he's doing tonight, LOL. Commentating for more speed runs. All right. So we're waiting for them to go ahead. While we're waiting for them to get ready, I want to go ahead and take the moment. I've been doing this in general and trying to take the intermission between to let everybody know, of course, about the community. So, like I said, if I sound like a broken record, I'm okay with that, so long as the music's good. If you are looking to be a part of the community, it's not just Super Mario Brothers. It's any speedrun, any game that you're interested in. Definitely reach out to members of the community after this event. Running Retro, Thumb Brothers, ECMyersVids, myself, and there are other members as well who will, I'm sure, be happy to get you set up and to be a part of the community and start running games. I'm going to go ahead and get this restarted real quick. There we go. Sorry for the clickety-clacks. But anyway, I think that they will. Let me get this off the screen. I think that they would be interested in growing the community just as much as you would in being a part of it. So please let people know. Excuse me. Let people know, and we'd be happy to have you in the community to run when the next race comes up. I think that that's going to be one of the big deals here. We are waiting on. We have one ready, but we're still waiting on one of them. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to get my mouse over here so I can read some of these chats. Chat is a gold mine with some really golden people here. Let's see. Let's take a look really quickly, see what we have. All right. And Lame Dad says the music is bumping. I'm curious. I don't hear if there's any music. There shouldn't be any music going on right now. It should just be my voice. But if it is some music going on in the background, so long as it's well balanced and sounds so good, hey, that's great. We do have some awesome bumping music that comes in the beginning and the end, and some intermission scenes that we haven't had to use due to the lack of technical difficulty. So I'm really happy about that. But we'll probably flash it up here just for the fun of it, just to show it off in just a bit. Let's take a look here. AR Video Game says, it was my dog's girlfriend's wedding night. Doesn't matter. Retro said I had to be here. You're right. I'm paying him in milk bones. No, I really appreciate everybody for showing up here, and not just AR Video Games. Of course, I definitely appreciate you, AR, but I appreciate everybody who showed up here to cheer on these runners, as well as to talk with me, to keep me company on this as well, because I'm definitely wanting to make sure that this is entertaining and fun, and I really appreciate, yet again, broken record moment. Thank you to ECMyersVids, Running Retro, and the Thumb Brothers for letting me host this and be a part of it. I am remarkably flattered and honored to have been given the opportunity to do this. I couldn't say that all at once. All right, we're getting ready. We have them ready for round 3, so I'm going to, the timer's reset. I'm going to go ahead and give a moment of silence while I get them counted down, and then we're going to get the clock starting. We're going to see if we can come out with a clear victor. Now, remember, round 1 and round 2 are both tied, so whoever finishes this last round in the fastest time is the winner of the whole thing. I'm excited to see this. This is actually kind of a down-to-the-wire moment. So I'm going to go ahead and take a moment of silence, get them counted down, and we're going to start round 3. Okay, we should be seeing the runners get started pretty shortly here. Let's see. Looks like we're seeing some. And there we go. Now remember, we're hearing Running Retro's audio, so if you notice the delay in that, that's just what it is. It should be synchronous with his gameplay footage, but we're here in round 3, and round 3 is actually a little bit... I anticipated seeing stiff competition. I anticipated seeing a tie. What I didn't anticipate was seeing how exciting that would be in round 3, because, like I said, anyone who finishes this in the fastest time wins the entire thing. Now, in this case, we've seen a lot of DNFs, so if we see a DNF, the person that finishes will actually win the whole thing. But we're also noticing some really quick times. If you take a look at these times that we're clocking in and we've clocked in prior, we're seeing stuff like 12 and 13 minutes, and these are 12 and 13 minutes for 3 game overs. That's... I get it. I can game over really quickly if I'm not making it all the way to World 8 each time. But these guys are really, when they're going to pass their games, they're on path to hit these, 5 minutes or 6 minutes, 7 minute strats, excuse me. So finishing the entire game in about 6 or 7 minutes, and sometimes even faster. Kind of choked up on that second sometimes. I wanted to put emphasis on it, but I choked up. Lame Dad Retro Gamer says, with a silky voice like that, he can bring world peace. I wish I could. I wish I could do that with a silky voice. I appreciate that you think my voice is silky, firstly. I never thought of it that way, but I very much appreciate it. But the other thing is, I just sometimes can't get people to cooperate. No, I'm messing around. Alright, so we're actually seeing a really comfortable... I should be commentating on the game as well, but I want to make sure I'm paying you guys attention, because it really wouldn't be an event if you guys weren't here. So I want to make sure you know. This is fantastic, and you guys, thank you so much. I agree with you. Lame Dad Retro Gamer says, you know what else is tight? This chat. I completely agree. Alright, so we saw them get through the flow stage. We're starting to see 4-2 is, like I said, where the last real simple stage we see. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. 1 second, please. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so we're seeing... we saw something I did not expect to see from Thumb, where he actually bonked on the block and then was forced back into the hole prior on the lift. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. So I'm not sure if it was just an accidental command or if the block legit... Oh! So what we're seeing here, we see a game over from Thumb, but we're seeing him bonk on the sides of the block, and it's actually forcing him back into the pit. That's going to be our first game over for Thumb Bros, actually. On the other side here, we do see Running Retro running a solid 8-1 right now. He's playing a little bit safe on those Koopa spawns, which I think is definitely a good idea. And remember, at this point, not only do they not know what everyone's doing right now, they also don't know with rounds 1 and 2 how the other one finished. So they're going to kind of get that when we come in for the post-game interview. That's going to be kind of interesting. Let's see. SpeedKings125 says, let's see if we can get a finish this time. I certainly hope we can. I would love to see it, but at the same time, this is all about having fun, going through it as quickly as you possibly can. I definitely am with you on that. I'd love to see an overall winner here, but these guys have been... It could be a matter of fatigue, too. I mean, we've definitely seen these guys racing and practicing, in some cases, for hours and hours a day. From what I've been speaking with Running Retro, it's kind of like that. So it could be a little bit of fatigue in that case, too. It's kind of an awkward balance that you have to not tilt too far one way or the other when it comes to the practicing, because you can wear yourself completely out. Okay, we're seeing Thumb come through 1-2, going to the warp pipes to warp 1-1, so he did really good on those jumps and took a little bit safer strat on those. Let's see. Sega Block says, wonder if the retro room would sing Danke Schön. I'm not sure what that is. I bet I could. It wouldn't sound good, but I would be happy to try if I learned it. I'm going to make a point to look that up. I'm not entirely sure what happened on the running retro one. We saw him, I guess, bonk against the step there. Maybe it was the momentum that carried him and he couldn't reverse, but we saw the Goomba fall on him there. In a lot of cases, Mario is momentum-oriented, so it does take a little bit of time for him to reorient himself after having gone so fast running into something, and he only gains momentum whilst on the ground. After he's in the air, it's pretty well whatever momentum's been toggled in while he's on the ground. All right. We actually see running retro coming in pretty strong into 8-3. We have Thumb coming back into 4-2, perfectly hitting those blocks this time, so not being forced back into the pit. And it's a little unusual. I'm curious. When we get into the post-game interview, I'd definitely like to ask what was going on. I don't honestly think it necessarily was his. Maybe it's fatigue, or maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's Maybelline. But he seemed to have trouble with that 4-2 there. All right, and we do see running retro there just get a bad pattern. We see his first game over on 8-3, which what a stage to have that on, obviously. But we do actually see a bad pattern on that. And sometimes, in terms of those bad patterns, if you're going fast, there's no way to do it. If you're playing normally, the best thing to do is wait it out and wait till they change positions. When you're going fast, you're trying to go through, you're going to look for hammer gaps, you're going to try and get them to jump, those types of things. We saw Running Retro give it his best shot on that, but he did definitely took the L to that particular hammer bro just because of having to go fast. We see the 8-1 infamous pipe jump right there and get Thumb. Now, I know Running Retro has been having a lot more trouble with it than Thumb, but Thumb, with him, we can kind of see an indication of whether his pipe jumps are going to be solid enough for that one. Ahead of time, he had been doing pipe jumps, a couple of them ahead of the big pipe jump, in fact. It looks like on this case, he's actually just doing the clip jump to clip the Piranha Plant or over the Piranha Plant's hitbox or hurtbox. It'd be hitbox in that case. Okay, so we see the first major obstacle here with Running Retro, which is that 1-2 jump. We see him get those 2 hops in perfectly, plus that second Goomba. We do see Thumb have issue again with that pipe jump. That timing is just insanely difficult, so I can understand why both runners are having difficulty. We do see a little bit of a slow start on Thumb on that one too, so I'm hoping everything's all right. But we see a perfect pipe jump at the beginning, and hopefully this is an indication of things to come. Second perfect pipe jump there, and then he's doing the clip strat now. Very nice. And he gets a good, obviously the Koopa pattern's pretty solid right there, but we will have to take a look at some of these additional Koopa patterns coming up. So we have this pipe jump. It looks like he's actually taking safety strats on that. So he did skip pipe 2 for safety strats. But at this point, I don't want to say he's home free, but I do feel like that he's more likely we're going to see him go into 8-2. He's definitely taking a couple of safety strats here, and I think that's understandable with those pipe jumps. So we're going to hopefully see him give it just a pedal to the metal with 8-2, 8-3. Yugoslav Video Gamer says, you got this, Thumb. And I think that's fantastic. By the way, thank you for cheering on. Definitely cheering on the runner if you have a preference in terms of runners, definitely cheer on the runners, or want to cheer the runners on as a whole. I know they definitely appreciate that support, and thank you so much for being here to do that. At the moment, this is a tie round for anybody who is just joining or is coming in after having had to leave. This is a tie round, so 1 and 2 are actually tied. Whoever wins this one finishes this one, despite the other one DNFing. We're gonna see that person actually take the entire pot here. AR Video Game says maybe they will be both Sprain and Thumb and each have to tag in secret partners, and this is about to become intense. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, we tried to look at everything that we would in terms of if they wanted to submit this to the speedrun archives, and in all honesty, that's one of the only things I didn't think to cover is secret swapping in person. Okay, and we do see Thumb take a game over there, having some difficulty with that. But on the other side, we do see Running Retro actually take that pipe jump pretty well, and we do see him take the steps pretty well. High flag strats again, and he ends with a 5 on the timer, so no fireworks for him. Very nice. And we see him have 2 lives here. This is a pretty good indication that this might be the run. I feel like it's a good indication. I shouldn't say it is, because we haven't seen yet. But I feel like this is a good indication that this might be the run. And we see Thumb coming in real strong with the early stages again. I do think, yet again, even though we see a 1-1 versus an 8-2 here, that's not quite going to make that jump. We see a 1-1 and 8-2. It does not mean that one of them is clear-cut, because we can see Running Retro here is taking on some of the more difficult stages. It is more likely he's going to die. Thumb, however, right now being on some of the somewhat more simplistic stages, has a better chance of being able to overcome and catch up. Omega says, if they tag me in, I'm spilling my drink and frantically setting up the game. All right, we do see that second. Yeah, we do see that. Ooh, is that the second or is that the third we're seeing for Running Retro there? That may actually I think that's actually the third one we're seeing here for him. Yeah, that's the third. That's the third game over we're seeing there. So all we have to do in this case, Thumb Brothers is on his last game over. All we have to do here is we have to see if Thumb will finish this race. Now he's, like I said, anybody who's joining now will know it's very quiet without game audio, isn't it? Let me go ahead and get Thumb's game audio going for you guys. There we go. Let's mute that so nothing else comes out in case he decides he wants to practice. Any which way, now Thumb doesn't know this yet again, but all he has to do is finish the race in order to win. Because he doesn't know this, though, he's not encouraged to take safe and slow strats like most of us would. He still has to go as fast as he possibly can to clinch this victory. So that means that all of the benefits that come with that speed run are going to come, and all of the detriments like bonking and hitting that second pipe jump, all of that's going to factor into it as well. All right. We'll take a peek really quickly here at the chat while he comes into the 4-2 warp pipe, getting ready for 8-1. AR says somebody needs to do a race like this with 2 people who have never played the game. I think that would be an awesome idea, but I don't know how many people we have that we know would play the game. I didn't use this, but I might as well. Let's go ahead and do this. We'll come over here. We'll make it a little easier for you guys. We still have the timer going down there in the bottom. Yeah, there we go. I had forgotten that we actually had that I had actually set those up. So my apologies for having not used them until just now. It wasn't in the previous race, but I had them for here. So we see some really unlucky Bullet Bill RNG. This is going to be really interesting for Thumb here because we have a 7-1. I didn't catch that. Oh my goodness. He is going for safety strats. So what happened in this, and this is not a common occurrence, is he's likely not practiced 7-1. Because the optimal run in this case is to go in and hit the Warp Pipe 4-1 and Warp Pipe 8-1. It looks like he accidentally hit his down button a little too soon. And so now because of that, he's stuck in 7-1, and he's going to have to actually play up to 8-1. I'm sorry, to 8-4. Which is something I did not anticipate seeing. We did actually ask if that is a possibility. I didn't know it. I don't think I've ever accidentally warped 8-1. Or 7-1, excuse me, but my goodness, this is interesting to see. This is really interesting. There is not really, as far as I know, unless you're doing 100%, which I've never done, unless you're doing every level or no warps percentage, there's not really a phenomenal strat, especially for 2 people that are doing, especially for 2 people that were doing the optimal run. So we do run into the 7-2 water level, which is a little tricky. So in this case, we actually are seeing him get the power-ups, which is not something you would normally see in these runs. It would be a complete small Mario run. I am very interested to talk to Thumb in the post-game interview and figure out what all was going on here. This is actually something really fun to see, though. For anybody who has played this game in the speedrunning community, I think this is kind of the equivalent of watching a runner take off at top speed and then lose both of his shoes on really hot pavement, but still run really fast. That's kind of the equivalent. I really respect the fact that he's just going for it like this. This is awesome. Yes, this is this is genuine laughter to see these to see these strats. I am really I'm really a little bit taken aback by this. This is really fun. Now, yet again, it's very possible Thumb is on his last life, I believe, of his last game over. So it's very possible, I think it's increasingly possible now, that we will see the DNF here. Let's take a peek. And we're seeing the there we go. Okay, we see it now. We see the okay, so we did see the final. Always the showman Thumb coming in though for it at seven World 7 strats. That's pretty darn impressive in my opinion for someone who's run the game in the most optimal fashion. And that does mean that what we see here, the timer's still running. It's a DNF, so it obviously doesn't qualify for the time here. I'm going to go ahead and reset all this. But let's come back over to our live competition here, and we have to put it in as the last one, which is tied. So really not necessarily a complete surprise. There was some talk about this prior that there would likely be a full tie. So I'm going to go ahead and take just a moment to I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to address some of you guys in the chat. We're going to go ahead and take an intermission for a moment there, get him ready for the post-game interview, and we'll hope you'll join us, hopefully with some questions of your own as well. I think that'll be great. So let me address some of the chat really quickly. So let's, if there's anything here. We do have Retro Gaming Star 25 says, "Hey, Retro Room, I'm really good at Super Mario Brothers. Would you like to race me sometimes? Whenever you get the chance, man. I would love to do that." And that's what this community is a part of and about. I would love to race you in Super Mario Brothers. I am not perfectly good. I'm not probably as good as these guys here, but I am happy to race you nonetheless. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Let's see if there's any other we have here. Sounds like RGS wants to participate sometime. Says Omega Ace Gaming. Yes, and I think that's phenomenal. I'm super excited. So yes, RGS. The logistics of when it needs to take place, we'll get that all coordinated. But I would love to race you in the very near future. We'll say I'd love that. Let's take a peek real quick. That's and we have Omega saying, "What an interesting end of a race, though." I completely agree. I did not expect to see any World 7. They made a joke about it, ironically, beforehand. We'll talk about that in the postgame. They made a joke about that beforehand, that somebody might do that, and indeed somebody did. So I'm really happy we got to see that, and we got to see him pull through 2 levels, really difficult levels. I think that was really great. And so we got a tie, says 125. Speed King 125. He says sudden death time. We didn't actually have a sudden death planned in this, so this does actually end in a draw. Yet again, it was hypothesized that might be the case. And the Almighty Terra says, "Hey, I'm back. So anything happened?" There was a lot of really great stuff in there happened. We'll recap a little bit on that. That Thumb actually came in and on his 678 World 678 warp from Fort 2. We actually saw him accidentally jump into Pipe 7, so we saw him run the gauntlet over 7-1, and we saw some really cool stuff there. That's actually really fun. That was actually really fun to see. All right, so, excuse me. So this is basically a tie I'm looking at. It is exactly a tie to the Almighty Terra. Yes, that is exactly a tie. Dylan Ledbetter, Retro's humble, but it was no fun to race him. He's like a Mario sleeper agent. Yeah, I don't even know the acronym. I couldn't think of the acronym fast enough, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. And Omega Ace Gaming says, "Hi, Dylan. Retro Room is a freaking gem." You're very kind. You're too kind. I very much appreciate that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get into we're going to go to our intermission screen for just a moment here. You're going to get to see some pretty decals that have my logo on it. It just says, it just asks if you'd be patient with me, and we'll give you some nice music on the way as I get the runners ready for the post-run interview. And thank you again for everyone being here. Thank you to everyone again for being here. If you do happen to have questions during the post-game interview, it's very possible they can get overrun, and I might miss a few, but definitely feel free to send those in the chat, and we'll try to convey those to our racers. So 1 second. For anybody who is, excuse me, for anybody who is in the chat right now, I really appreciate you guys for standing by. We're about to jump into the post-game interview with our two runners to hear kind of what their mindset is. Likely while we're doing that, we're going to let the eye catches run or the game run in the background with the two competition live. No sound in that case. We're just going to be talking about post-game thoughts, future projects, and the community as a whole. Like I said, if you do have any questions, we look forward to hearing from you so that I can convey those to them or so that it can be conveyed to them what you might want to hear. I do hope you guys are enjoying the music. Down a little bit more. Hope you guys are enjoying the music. A big thank you, by the way. There's a huge credits list down at the bottom of my channel. Thank you to those people for allowing us to use this music with no rights attached to it. A huge thank you to each individual artist. These are some great tracks that we have, and so it's really, really nice. I hope you guys are enjoying that. Really quick to go through this. Let's go ahead and see. I can't wait till I race your retro room. And by the way, you have me as a friend on Nintendo Switch. I don't think I do that. I do at the moment, but we can get that taken care of. We'll have to remedy that. AR says, got to take this job more seriously. Retro doesn't pay me big bucks for nothing. Okay, fantastic. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get everybody set up here. For the post game, and I think we're about ready to go. So let's go ahead and get moved over to the live. It's going to be quiet now. That music goes away. All right, let's go ahead and see if we got that. You shouldn't be able to hear anything in the background there. Should just be us. Let's see what we have for our... Do we have everybody here?
It looks like it's just me at the moment.
Okay. That sounds all right. Okay, and so we're waiting really quickly to get the Thumb Brothers back in here. We can go ahead and have our post-game conversation. Interviews. Excuse me.
Hello.
There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get our racers in here. Now we should be able to hear them, guys. Running Retro, Thumb Brothers, can we hear you?
Hello. Yes.
Hey, I can hear you.
Hello?
GG, Thumb.
Hello there.
Well,
maybe having a small technical difficulty here. A small hiccup in terms of the interview here. So one moment while we get that rectified, if that's okay.
Running Retro, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Retro Room, can you hear me?
Oh, I guess that's doing something a little weird there. Okay. I know what the technical difficulty is. There we go. I got it fixed. Can we hear you guys?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Okay,
hello?
There we go. Yeah, I knew what the technical difficulty was. I saw it. I got it fixed. My apologies. All right. Turn this up so I can hear it. So, I think, honestly, my apologies to the chat for the brief technical hiccup there, but thank you very much. I think, honestly, I want to go ahead and just say congratulations and good luck to both of you guys, or not good luck, excuse me, good game to both of you guys for having run this. This was definitely the gauntlet, looking at each independent run, and you guys did, I mean, you could definitely see the speed strat you guys gave it your all. I want to, if you haven't already gotten to take a look at that, I do want to go ahead and announce to the runners who were in this case, like I said, double blind, that this race did end in a tie. It did run all the way down. So I'm curious, really quick. I'm going to go ahead and, if I can, I'll start with Running Retro, if I may. I mean, how do you feel about that? I think you kind of opined on that earlier or before the race.
Well, yeah, and I have to admit, my nerves got me, straight up. And normally I don't have a stage fright, and normally I don't really usually feel too much pressure. And there was something about the fact that last time when we were doing slightly safer strats, and I felt very confident in being able to finish a run consistently. And this time, knowing that I was really pushing the envelope, and knowing how risky that was, I just had like that thought kept getting me, and I managed to honestly, I managed to die in most of the places other than 1-2 that are usually just like gimmies for me. If I can get past 1-2 smoothly, if I can get past 8-1 smoothly, then I almost never fail to finish a run from there. And yeah, for some reason 8-2 is my bane today. But there it is.
We definitely saw. I think in a lot of this we saw a lot of. We definitely saw you try and push the pedal to the metal, but I understand that it's nerve-wracking when you're running these games to kind of keep that continuum, that flow, and that frame of mind, and of course there's a little bit of a nerve, kind of nervous emotion that comes into it when you have people watching. It's very different than getting to practice independently or for a round that's not necessarily considered to be official. So I definitely think that I think it was an amazing series of runs though that we saw here, and the issues I think we saw are remarkably understandable. I think we saw a lot of difficulties specifically with that second pipe jump there in 8-1.
I think it's brutal.
It definitely is.
It's brutal.
Thumb, I want to turn a question to you. I think this is really quickly. This is kind of an introductory question. I mean, you definitely ran really strong there. I want to commentate really quickly about the awesomeness that was the end of your third round. You did something that I think was really great. I mean, there was a comment, and this is something kind of off the record there. We heard that there was a potential to see a World 7. You hit the World 7 warp pipe or hit down a little early on that. And we did get to see a little bit of that, and we saw you really adapt and run those levels, which I had never seen you run before. Run those levels pretty darn well, actually, very impressively, if I might say. What kind of happened? What was going through your mind when that happened?
Well, thanks for the compliment. The funny thing is, once I got to World 7, I felt like with 7-1 at first before I died, I was running it pretty decently. Like I was doing some jumps from here and there, and then once I died one time, I was like, I haven't played this in the longest time, World 7. And I was like, let me explore a bit, like maybe go for a mushroom, that good old line. Now that's what I call a good pickup. Just to explore a little bit. And then, 7-2, I think as Big Mario, you're kind of at a disadvantage. I think when people do a full run of Mario, I think they have Flower Mario at that point, I believe. Actually, they do. Mm-hmm. So for that water level, you're really supposed to have Fire Mario. And those bloopers, I remember when I was a kid, or even, just even recently, just playing 7-2, those squids guys, those bloopers, they're so annoying because they follow your movements. Mm-hmm. And, there's a trick to kind of lure them away. Like, if you face one direction, they'll move away. And it was kind of a blast going to 7-3. And I felt like I should have just kept on going and not go for the pickup, or maybe just like play it safe and let the fish go at me. But I was like, what, let me take a chance. Let me see if I could, get this mushroom before the fish. And then, I just thought I just thought that was good education right there. Like just really good material. I think, when I saw Running Retro type in done, especially since this is the third and last race. I mean, technically, you could go to World 7 by accident. So, is it did I do it purposely or accidentally? I think maybe it's a combination of both. I wasn't like shocked just because, I was like, man, Running Retro must be done already or something. And I was kind of like, what the heck? This has been a fun collab. Let's do World 7. Let's do World 7. I just thought it was kind of just something to say, hey, that this race is just fun. Like it's not, it's really not about medals or anything. Or maybe it is. Oh, maybe there are medals that I'm not aware of. But it was just really fun and just I had a blast with that.
It has been a lot of fun, by the way. A lot of fun.
I think everybody had it. I think I want to speak for everyone, but I feel like I can speak for at least some people in the chat here have been remarkably supportive. You had people in the chat cheering you guys on both, and also some cheering you on independently. I think a lot of people, I mean, even looking at it as a tie all the way through, I think a lot of people had a lot of fun watching it, and there were definitely things that happened in this race that didn't happen or we wouldn't have seen otherwise, I don't think. And so I think this was really fun, a really fun thing to do. I do think really quickly to Thumbs, and then I'll jump on to an actual community question if I could, that we saw Thumb. One of the things I did explain, I think it was really fun to get to see that 7 race. I think the way I thought that you might have done it mistakenly, to hit it too early, and so I had made the comment. I think it was a marathon runner, a sprinter, an Olympian runner, basically Olympic runner, who gets a great start off the line, but starts losing his shoes on the hot pavement and still continues to run that race. And it was just, hey, I've got this, and you did You did really well. It was really fun to watch that. So, so this is a question. I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'll start it with Running Retro. This is a community question for both of the runners. But like I said, Running Retro, I'll give you the first opportunity to answer. It's from Zombie JLT1, who says, when speed running, do you find it helpful to play with a traditional method, or play with the traditional method for holding a controller, or do you use an improvised method of holding the controller?
I use an improvised method, and actually, that's the reason I ended up getting. I ended up getting 2 wrist braces, because what I actually do is I hold. So the D-pad I hold normally, but then I put my thumb underneath the A and B buttons and use my middle finger and my forefinger for A and B. And the reason is that way it lets me get like a direct, real fast tap on the button, and I cannot get the short hop for the jumps any other way. But because of that, it twists my left wrist, and so it adds this weird stress on my left wrist because I'm pushing the D-pad down and actually not only just using the D-pad but actually rebalancing the controller. But I tried it for a while, just like putting it on my leg and tapping it on my leg, doing something like that. But then your leg gives a little bit, so I ended up bracing it against my right thumb, and it's worked pretty well. That's actually something that I think can happen with improving my game is my controller grip, since I just sort of came up with something, is not very consistent necessarily. So one thing I've noticed is that sometimes I will hit the A button and I can feel the button slide off of the rubber contact. So I hit the jump button and it gives me nothing because it never makes contact because I'm pushing it at a diagonal. And then there's a couple of things where if I get into a rhythm, like I can feel the sweet spot still where I'm able to get the really, really short contact taps, but it's actually really hard to get that. And so there's some inconsistency in my controller grip that actually directly translates to inconsistency in gameplay. And that's just more practice, frankly.
Gotcha. And so I want to tack on really quickly, not necessarily a question, but I feel like this almost sounds like the NES speed board might have been the accessory for you when you were starting this game.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, so Thumb, I'm going to pose the same question, obviously from the community. Like I said, it's Zombie JLT1. Thank you very much, by the way, for that question. But yeah, basically the question is, do you use an improvised holding of the controller, handling of the controller, or do you use it the traditional way, thumbs on the D-pad at A and B?
Yeah, that's a good question. And just for you, Running Retro, and the viewers, I'm listening while I'm kind of testing that out. Using a controller, with these pipe jumps. Now, I feel like I kind of hold the controller, at least for now, just really traditionally. I put my thumb, no pun intended, my left thumb on a diagonal. It's good that it really feels nice to use the original NES controller. I know this is the NES Mini, but I put my left thumb diagonal. I don't know if anybody else does that. I think it depends on the game. And then when it comes to Mario, I obviously I always hold on to the B button, and I kind of just put on my right thumb. I kind of like roll it a little bit, or maybe not roll it, but I kind of like push it down on the A button to do these pipe jumps. So like, let's try this now. For this first pipe jump, so I jump, and then I do that. Like I kind of, even when I do that first pipe jump, I also on the left D-pad. It's such a technical game. I think like a hand cam would be really cool. That I know I said I put my left thumb on a diagonal, but when I jump over that pipe jump, I also move my left thumb at the same time. I kind of roll my left thumb on the D-pad left and right there, which controls, at least for me, since I'm not using like original hardware, it helps me kind of control Mario's jumping physics. So like I'll try it again here. I'm not going to go to World 7. So I'll try it again. And then that's how I do it. Like now I obviously I fell in the pit there, but it's just it still feels like 50-50. I know some people say you got to hold the controller like certain way, maybe I need to make some adjustments. But that's what I've been doing so far.
Okay, so it's
for 1-2. For 1-2, I'll try 1-2. Show 1-2. For 1-2, I did do what Running Retro was doing. I know I said that in a warm-up race. This is 1-2 here. That I see I died there. You really got to like almost like break the controller. That's where you. It was funny that I was able to do it with the Switch controller. But you really gotta like, I don't know how you feel about it, Running Retro, but do you feel like that's where you have to really like button mash the controller, or is it just light movement? I think it's that small jump with Mario.
What I do with the original NES controller is, I mean, because, and I've got an idea of what's going on too, because I rebuilt all of these things, and I kind of know exactly where the silicon pad is because I've purposefully maneuvered the silicon pad to be as centered as possible for this. And what I actually find is that I can shift the pad so that the pad is compressed but not making contact. And then I just roll my finger on it so that it literally makes the briefest contact. But what I find sometimes is that you can feel the silicon pad kind of go concave and not spring back immediately. And that's when I get my extended jumps. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now is a lot of those extended jumps I'm doing are not how long I'm pressing the button. They're the way I'm compressing the button, and it's like I don't know. It's one of those things that really messes with you, and it can actually get really frustrating because I'm like, okay, I know the timing, but it's a matter of so how do I physically adjust the hardware and utilize it properly for the trick I'm trying to do. It's been interesting on that, and I don't have an answer yet. I can feel it sometimes. That's the weird thing is like when you get in that sweet spot and you're like, I know exactly what's going. You already know you're going to succeed before you even start. I can get that in 1-2, and I can actually get that on the pipe jumps in 8-1. But if I don't go in for that, then it's like it's this total just random. Random shot as to whether I get it or not, or that's what it feels like.
I hope I don't go too off topic here, but somewhat related is that I'm using. I had 2 NES controllers. I still have these 2 old NES controllers. I think one of them. I know Running Retro, you had a different approach with controllers. You must, I think, had about 20, at least 20. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I just had 2 original NES controllers. Where one I got in Funkoland in 1999. So I think this controller, that I'm using is, I don't know what year that is, 20 years. I can't, it's like one of those, you just lose the math. And then the other controller is my older brother, who doesn't know that I.
So I
have his controller.
He does now.
So, well, yeah, he's probably watching the stream. So that controller must be from, the late 80s or something. So these controllers that I'm using are about as old school as you're going to get. At least one of them is from the 80s and one of them is from the 90s. So I think, it was kind of cool using the original controller. I don't know, like you just get that sense of feeling,
Well, it's fun, kind of been an interesting thing because I've been trying to get the controllers back to just as original as they can possibly be. And that's something that I've noticed with so when I buy the lots, a lot of these controllers are in horrible condition when I get them. But I've had...
And I think we may have lost Running Retro's response there. Running Retro, are you still with us?
And, cleaning the boards. I want to see how much of a difference the actual hardware made for the jumps. I still think the original Nintendo pads, if they're good, are better than anything you can get now by a million miles. I mean, without any question.
Wait, you say original NES pads?
Yeah, the ones that are just originally shipped with a controller.
Yeah,
all the reproductions look like garbage.
I agree. Really... the Nintendo Switch. I know they had that,
And I'm not sure.
And I just feel like it's not going to replicate that. Like, it's going to feel heavy. the NES Mini controller, it feels lighter than the original NES controller, but it just feels too light. And then the 8-bit Duo Pro for the Switch, it just feels too heavy. Same for the Pro controller. So, it was just fun trying out the original controller. I think my thing is really controllers. Like I would like to get some more old school controllers. Just more the merrier. So I guess that's my next goal. Just for eBay or.
And I
apologize. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Well, nothing beats OG. Like, absolutely, man. You should pick them up as much as you can. Nothing beats the original, like the original NES, the original SNES. Like, those controllers. If you can get one that's in good condition, that's an original controller, I don't care how much you rebuild it, refurb it, work on it, clean it, whatever. I don't think it even holds a candle to the original product as it was. That it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And from my perspective, I use the older ones. Mine are 1980s controllers straight out of the 80s. I think my primaries are straight out of 85 with the launch system. So, and you definitely feel a difference from one iteration to the next to the next to the next. So, but I think also to go to what Thumb was saying and using that, I do think we got to see a lot of that, the kind of enhancement not only of your skill but of the inputs that you had. You were pretty frequently in 8-1 that there were the difficult pipe jumps towards the end, and you were actually pretty frequently able to pipe jump, even if it got you that last brutal one. You were doing some pretty impressive and pretty, and speaking of 8-1 pipe jumps, but you were doing some really impressive pipe jumps even prior to that, which aren't even, which I think that there's a strat for it, but it's not even absolutely necessary if you can clip over it, which you were doing as well. I mean, you were doing some really brilliant strats and switching them up on the fly, and we definitely saw that enhanced responsiveness.
No, that's a good point, because when I felt at some points where I might not have felt 100% confident with certain pipe jumps, I just did the alternative strat, which is just jump over the pipe. I did get a star. I did that as a joke. Because like when I saw Running Retro click done, I didn't know if he beat the game or not, or maybe I figured who knows what. So I was like, let's just have some fun. I mean, let me get the star as just to show people that this. I guess I could show it here. That it's an alternative strat as well. It's a little bit slower. The star, it's probably it's about 4 seconds slower, but it's still like. I just thought that'd be a fun thing to try,
Sure.
Just to show people that there's different approaches to play it.
Right. No, of course. Now, I do have a question, and this one I imagine is probably going to be a little bit of a sore subject, but I do have a question for you, Thumb.
Oh, a sore subject. Oh,
a little bit. So I noticed around round 2 you were having a little bit of a struggle with the 4-2 vine. I noticed that you were having a little bit of a struggle. In fact, I think you had 2 lives on that 4-2 vine.
Correct. Yep, I remember.
What? I don't mean to bring up the painful past. I'm curious as to was this just a byproduct of not maybe hitting a specific jump? Was this just it kind of forcing the momentum to work against you?
Yeah. It was also funny too because I did die in 1-2. A couple times. I don't know. It just looked like I was trying to do that jump that Running Retro tries to do, and I died a couple times. I was like, what the heck? Let me experiment a little bit. For 4-2, yeah, that was kind of annoying for me. I kind of took a deep breath. Like I think there was 1 or 2 times where I paused the game after getting a game over. Because I was kind of like, all right, let me just, I know I can do 4-2. Like, why is 4-2, acting up like this? And it was just like, it's. I take a different route than Running Retro does, which I think would be kind of cool to see what different, we should get together sometime and do like a commentary, either me or Running Retro, or also some of the hosts, ECMyersVids or yourself. And just do like a reflection where you see there are subtle strats. Running Retro at 4-2, I could kind of show you what he likes to do at 4-2. He likes to jump over. He likes to go underneath first, and then he goes middle. So I'll try to show that strat. So this is what Running Retro does. He goes underneath, and then he goes in the middle here, does 2 quick jumps like this, and that's Running Retro strat. And I think that's a pretty decent strat. I can show you my strat, and I think that's a good learning experience, because I think the route I take is I take this route. I jump on this small one. I jump on top. And then I go on top and I do a jump and I do that.
It happens.
What happened there was I think I don't know. It was also probably a sense of confidence, because for the record, we could actually skip this. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this 4-2 thing. If we do the advanced strat, that quote unquote glitch, you don't have to do that. And I feel like this is still tough, like, to get this down packed. And that might be an interesting thing for a race, further down the line, where we try to explore some advanced strats where we don't have to do this 4-2 thing. I wonder what Running Retro thinks about that.
Well, your strat is definitely faster. The reason I don't do what you do is because I wanted to get my muscle memory ingrained to go in the bottom route, so I can learn how to do the pipe glitch. And it was just one of those things that I decided, okay, I'm going to lose some time here just to kind of keep my skills in the long view, so I don't have to. I'm kind of tired of unlearning things that I learned, controller grip, and just like ways to really finish the game efficiently. As I've learned, I've had to realize that I am doing something wrong. So, completely forget your muscle memory for 8-1 and learn how to do the pipe jumps and make that your muscle memory. So I just decided at some point arbitrarily that 4-2 is where I was just going to sacrifice the time and not worry about it, because leave it to like future posterity. And yeah, that's literally it.
I mean, I think it's good education. Like, I feel like with these races, once we look back at them, I just think it's fascinating that in the first race, I don't think 4-2 ever really gave me a problem. Although it was still tough to pull it off. Like, you had to really focus and get all the jumps correct. I just think it makes good material. Like, I didn't do it purposely. I was trying to focus, but I think it's good that I made those adjustments afterward. It was just, I think it's a matter of confidence, at least partly, I think.
And to make a quick reference for the just as they kind of speak on this for the chat and anybody who may be unfamiliar with this game, the advanced strat, the 4-2 is the wrong. I believe in this case we're referring to the wrong warp, wherein they'll utilize a series of very precise movements and backwards jumps, and then also utilize the screen scroll to cause the pipe to actually warp them up the vine. It's a little bit faster than actually climbing the vine.
Well, yeah, I feel like it could be a safer strat at the end of the day, not just a faster one.
Well, it's like 8-4. I mean, once you get it, then you almost never die. It's kind of like, but learning it can be kind of a bear.
Oh, absolutely. I think that we saw the other thing I want to say and pose, and I'll point this one to you, Running Retro. I think we saw this fairly consistently between both of you. Was that we see that the challenges with this typically come in 1-2. And then we have the beginning of the 8, so 8-1, 8-2, 8-3 typically, but we have that pipe jump in 8-2, and the 1-2 jump between the Koopa and the brick low ceiling, effectively. So I know that we saw a lot of those kind of hit, and I know that it could be nerves in this case, but I think my question in this case is, what are things that you're looking to do to kind of improve those for potential future runs?
Well, and I said this a little bit before we were starting and just sort of setting up. At the end of the day, I figure I've put in something like, in my lifetime, 30 to 40 hours in Mario 1 at this point. And most of what I've done has been these 4-hour practice sessions on stream. And then for this race, I tried specifically to get rid of some muscle memory and learn muscle memory for faster stuff, and that. I think that kind of bit me in the butt today a little bit too, was because I didn't really get the muscle memory down. I just gave myself the ability to understand it could be there, but not actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that to really get these strats that I'm currently doing now is going to take almost as long as I've played the game so far to really ingrain those with 100% consistency. And at this point, it's purely repetition. It's weird because it's easier to get into a rhythm if you're actually doing a full run. I find if I do 8-1 and I start testing the pipe jumps, in about 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, I can do it almost with 100% consistency. But then actually translating that to a run when you're in a different rhythm, you're in a different mindset, you have a timer going, there's something at stake, then to me it's grinding it until there's nothing at stake, because I've just done it so many times that it's just what I do. And that's I think that's the next step for me. And that's how I learn, is usually I just bang my head against a wall until in fact I did a little bit of a joke there in 4-2 where Mario's running underneath the mushrooms. And I was like, I'm banging my head against this wall. Mario's going to bang his head against something. So I had him jump repeatedly into the mushrooms and wonk his head.
Sure. And there was a lot of commentary as well in the chat, and I think the chat could definitely understand from where about some of the frustrations that you guys were inevitably having to deal with, seeing some of these fast strats being used in some of these harder areas. Yet again, the 8-2 pipe jump being an absolute bugger today. So I think that's something we definitely can understand too. It's definitely something of diminishing returns, where you start off and you're cutting entire minutes from your time, and then after you get really good and concise, you start cutting seconds and eventually just frames. And I think when we saw, despite the difficulties on here, we did see two very well executed series of strats in a lot of these levels. We saw a lot of great runs. We just happened to see, I think, a little bit of obviously it happens where there's some stress, but I think we also saw just a little bit of circumstance, a little bit of luck on that. We definitely saw, specifically with yours, I believe it was we saw an 8-3 spawn with or a bad pattern with the Hammer Bro there, and then for Thumb Brothers we saw a bad pattern for his 8-4 Bowser there, which actually that actually was, so we definitely saw great and concise runs.
Oh well, you mean my 8-4 Bowser?
Yes, your thumbs up. 8-4
If
Bowser,
I could comment on that,
absolutely.
Well, yeah, once I saw running retro click done, but I think that was the second race. I just want to be clear that I could have defeated that Bowser by just taking a slow strat. By there's really two ways to do it. You do it the fast way, where you kind of figure out if he jumps forward or jumps backward, and you practice enough where you could just jump underneath him or over him in a fast way, which I was trying to do. If you do it the slow way, you're 100% guaranteed, or maybe that's not right, maybe 99%, or maybe 90%, or whatever. You're guaranteed to beat Bowser if I just waited for him to just use his fireball, whatever, and then he jumps, then I just wait 5 seconds, I go underneath him, and I complete the game. I could have done that. But since running retro click done, I was like, this is a race, let's have fun. Let me try an aggressive strat on Bowser. So it was more that I need to practice that to do it the fast way.
Well, and also, yet again, for the audience's benefit, of course, we mentioned it earlier, this was a double-blind run, so no runner was able to see the other runner at that time. They had very minimal contact and only had kind of a cursory idea of that the other one had finished, and not of how they had finished, whether that be a DNF. So they were basically incentivized to continue to push forward, and we definitely saw that, even with some people finishing it ahead of time. We saw the other runner putting the pedal to the metal and definitely putting their best foot forward. I'm a little curious on here. Take a look at this really quickly. There we go. So one of the questions that's been in the chat here, and I'm a little curious on this. This is kind of a frivolous question, if I could ask. Is obviously you guys are getting to the point of where you're doing this game, you're doing it very well, and you're running the different strats. There are obviously some frequent difficulties, and there are things that are going to happen from a. Here, I'm going to do this real quick. There are things that we see happening or coming in from a speedrunner's perspective that are difficult, like the pipe jumps, like the clips, and like some of those Koopa spawns. Once you guys feel like that you've kind of hammered that out and you've gotten a much more consistent strat and you're faster, a lot of people in here were commenting about different types of controllers. In fact, I think Spawn from an AR Video Games joke tweet about using Guitar Hero controllers. In the future of speedrunning, as you become more concise with the real controller, are you looking to add additional challenges like changing up controllers, like Small Fire Mario, those types of things? Are you looking to do those runs in the near future?
I'm not. So basically, my goal originally was to get a sub 530, and I did not complete the game ever. And then finally, like the first time I did in the speed run, I think I got a 618 or something like that, or 618 or 628. I can't remember which it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I ever completed it, I got a 540, 545, 548.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third time getting it was that 529. So it's just one of those things that like every time I PB is like it's my completed run that's the PB, and all the rest have been failures. So and that's usually kind of how I learn anyway. Is I plateau really hard,
mm-hmm.
and then I get huge breakthroughs, and then plateau, and then breakthroughs. So I think that at this point, I think my PB is something right around a 519, and my sum of best is sub 5 minutes even.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things are. I would like to come back to the game and get my 5-minute run, but at the end of the day, I want to learn some other stuff. So if I could answer partially to a question in chat, we do have some other stuff planned, and that was kind of most of this has been Thumb and I working for a long time to get a really cohesive race. Maz and Thumb and I did a collab last year, and it was a ton of fun, and it was a really good time. Mazen had some really good ideas for how we could do it with in a way that was accessible and in a way that was doable with what we had, and I think it was a success. But we really did want to do the split screens, so we took a long time to get this race done, and that meant that we also had a lot of time to familiarize ourselves with the game. Maybe too much. There's an argument here that we both got a little bit better at the game than I think either of us expected to, and in some ways wanted to, for these races. So I know that Eugene and I have talked about a semi-blind race where we just pick up the game and play. Yeah, Zombie, I see what you said. Yeah, I mean, I would love to race Metroid 2 free. I've got a personal goal on that. That's one I actually have experience on. So the next thing for me is learning. I really want to learn the Journey to Cilia speedrun. I really want to get my Metroid 2 time down, my Mega Man X time down. So I've got like a laundry list of games that I just want to improve on now that I've gotten Mario done, but I didn't want to let my skills go rusty for this race. But I will say, I wasn't expecting to get here and continue to want to push Mario 1, and now I do. So I think that this has inspired me to dive a lot deeper than I expected to, at all. Mm-hmm. So no challenges, but I want to come back and get a 5 clean.
And I definitely think, seeing what we've seen, I think that there's a very high possibility that we'll see that. And I don't feel like that. I mean, of course, depending on when you decide to stream that or decide to compete in that, I don't necessarily know the time frame, but I expect we'll see it sooner rather than later in terms of in relation to your runs. I do want to expand a little bit on that question and ask one of my own that's basing from the SpeedKeen125 question, and you did address some of that. While there are no firm dates set for this, do you or Thumb, either one, anticipate trying to set up at some point a match to settle this tie here?
As for me, as for the power-ups, I think I would like to do a full run of Mario 1, like all 32 levels down the line. I think that something like that could be fun. But just, I guess for me, it's just like, I know Running Retro pointed that out, that maybe we kind of exceeded what we set out to do for Mario 1, because I didn't really expect it to be this long. And it's not like we were practicing every day. Like if people think we're practicing 8 hours a day of Mario 1, that's not the case. I would say that the key word is casual practice with some focus on improving in certain areas. Like I didn't really get that much chances to work on my personal best, but I set the same goal of getting sub 530, and I did do sub 530. So on a warm up race, which is kind of cool. I think. Oh, I think there's an echo on my part. As for like no power ups or something, I think that's something that could be fun to try. I know like in Contra, they have like a low percent category. Like you can't use the spread gun. Ninja Gaiden, there's a low percent where you can't use the spin slash. So like for a full, for this run, we did no power ups really. I know I picked up a mushroom. That was just as a joke, just to mess around, have some fun. But it's generally no power ups for the warps. But for non warps, I think I would do a full run and then no power ups for fun afterwards. As for the tiebreaker, I'm not going to do any races in July. I have some projects that I on my end that I need to get done, and also some other collabs that I'm working with some other people in the community. So for me, July, I'm not doing any racing, but I will be doing personal bests. I will be trying out some games just for fun, over on Twitch, and then I'll do uploads on YouTube. So I want to try to explore Zelda 1, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I do want to explore Contra for the NES. I do want to explore Castlevania for a little bit, and maybe some other games just to see. Nothing fancy, nothing like advanced strat, just to get a little bit better at it and have like a portfolio of games. Like, oh, okay, Mario 1, Contra, Zelda, Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man, Castlevania. So I think for me, I like to be like pretty decent at a lot of games as opposed to like one game to be super expert at. And Mario 1 is not. I would say it's like tier 2. I would like to focus. Like tier 1 would be like Ninja Gaiden or Zelda 1. I think those are my top 2 where I would like to really be an expert at those 2.
And I think I think in the end, neither of us really knew what we were getting into here. But I think Mario 1 ends up being a little bit more my thing than Thumb's. I know you've enjoyed it and we've talked about that, but I think this is one that feels like this is really cool. And my aspect is like I'm getting addicted to this. This is great. So it was very interesting too, just to see how the exact same game playing it basically the same way with the same approach, has this different pull for each of us. Like I know we've talked a lot about Ninja Gaiden, and I'm really interested in learning how to beat Ninja Gaiden consistently in under an hour. As far as speedrunning it goes, yeah, maybe at some point. But I know that that's something that that Thumb really likes, and he's got some very respectable PBs, and I'm like, man, that's really impressive. I do not have the drive in that game yet to do something like that. But then I think also with with Mario 1, I think that I've got a lot of drive to get my sub 5 or break even on it. And I think that Thumb is probably a little bit more like, this was really fun, I enjoyed it, but maybe not push it.
Yeah, I'm not really into going for 5 minutes or sub 5. I still want to explore this game with warps. Like, there's still a lot to do. I might want to explore doing some tutorials, like some beginner tutorials, some intermediate tutorials, because I feel like there's really no intermediate tutorials for Mario 1 warps, because everything's either like super advanced, like cosmic tutorial, maybe it's just something where you get less than 7 minutes in Mario 1, and you can kind of like do that. I do want to get 5 minutes down the line. I think that would be cool for me to get 5 minutes, you know, like further down the line. Like maybe I just casually do some practice, you know, exploring, you know, on my own. But I think for Mario 1, I really want to do all 32 levels. I think for me, that would be my next project. Like I would rather do sub 530, where I could probably get maybe 520, which I think I probably could do. And then I'm happy with that. And then just doing all 32 levels. Like that to me, just personally, yeah, it's a personal preference that I would rather do that than, you know, going for 5. It's just, you know, everyone has their own personal preference.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to do All Stars 1, 2, and 1 Lost Levels and 3 Warps. That's a run I'm really interested in learning.
That's a good point, because that's something I would like to do. I would love to do a Mario, you know, marathon where I just try to get, like, you know, that muscle stamina, like that endurance with the game. Because, like, for example, if you gave me the controller right now to play Super Mario 3, I'm gonna be kind of like, you know, I mean, I'm a little bit familiar with the game, but it's gonna be so foreign to me because I haven't played it in a long time. I would just like to just do a smooth run, you know, of all 5 games. You know, Mario 1, Lost Levels, Mario 2, Mario 3, and Super Mario World, all in one stream. And you know, you do one game at a time. Maybe do warps first, so you maybe do like a warps marathon, and then you do like a full game marathon. I think that's something I really would like to do with myself, but also with these collab races. I think that would be also a fun project to do as well.
Well, and I guess that the Thumb, you've kind of answered it preemptively, so I want to go ahead and extend this more to Running Retro, if I may. But you've kind of gone over what your projects are and what you're looking in terms in terms of Super Mario Brothers and going with sub 5. But I am curious, at least for the people that are here and the viewers that follow you in general, are there additional projects that you may be working on or they may be looking forward to when following your channel?
Well, hopefully we're actually moving, and that's still we're waiting on the news, and then at that point, I'll have an office rather than a computer shoved in the bedroom closet, and I haven't ever really talked about it on stream, but it's secluded and it's nice. But actually, sitting in this corner is really uncomfortable. It's one of the reasons I haven't been streaming as much, is because it's just genuinely uncomfortable. By the time I'm done, I just hurt. And so I think that I love doing the streams and I want to do more of them. But I think what's going to end up happening is once we kind of get this straightened out and I can get back onto a schedule, my real goal is going to be taking a laundry list of about 5 games. So I really want to get sub hour on Metroid. I want to get sub hour on Mega Man X. I want to get Ninja Gaiden to the point where I can beat it in under an hour. Basically pick up a bunch of fun games that I can just sit down and knock out. Half an hour on Journey to Silius, I think is goal. I'd have to look at. I've got a list on that, but that I'm gonna try and set up a time where once a week, for like a month, or twice a week for a month, I just focus on one game with a dedicated goal, and then when I hit that goal, let it be, so I don't burn out on the game, and probably return to the game later. But that's kind of getting that schedule together is really my future project. And then from that, focusing much more on the YouTube channel, videos of PBs, that progression, and then because mostly what I do is the tech. Focusing a lot more on just the technology of the streaming and how to make these things look beautiful on the channel, and that's kind of, it's a pretty wide purview, but it's yeah,
which I think
approach.
Which I think is really, it's really neat to see all aspects of gaming. I mean, today we saw a big marrying of a lot of different people from a lot of different channels focusing on a lot of different things, coming here to show the support of the speedrunning community. And of course, I think everybody here kind of supports each other. So again, I think a big thank you to the chat for being a part of this and helping to kind of perpetuate the momentum in the community. I guess that does bring me to kind of winding down here. That does kind of bring me to what my last question was which was the speedrunning community. I know that there are a lot of potential misconceptions about it, and there are people in the chat here who either have been running or there are a couple of people who've stated that they're interested in getting started. So to both of you, what's the best way for these people to get in contact and get started in trying to run their own, trying to run within this community their own games and races amongst people inside of the same community?
So I actually posted a link there in our Discord chat that is an invitation to the community Discord. If you could chuck that link in chat, that's the single best way.
I can do that.
And that is our community race Discord. And the big thing is that we just like to have a place where people can come and race for fun. Obviously, some people are going to be different skill tiers, and that's great. But if people are going to be at different skill tiers, we just want to make sure that we're having a good time and showing a good time in general. So that's something to think about on the approach there. But yeah, that it's a work in progress, and the more the merrier. And that's really it. It's just get in touch, and if there's something you want, we can find a way to race it. Then let's do it.
I think that's gonna be great. I mean, I definitely saw some people in chat, some people asking about racing and such. I was even challenged to a race, which I think is awesome. So I'm definitely excited to see that kind of involvement and that kind of excitement going on. So, Thumb, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and offer this to you as well. Are there any kind of I don't know if there are any additional questions in chat, but as I'm asking this one, if you do have any questions, please feel free to get them in. I don't want to wind this completely down without having gotten to answer those. But what do you recommend as well in terms of just getting started kind of with the speedrunning for people who are getting involved? They've gotten into the Discord now. What are their first steps? And I guess I should put this to the table. You both have great perspectives on this. What are their first steps? What are some things that they may want to do to kind of practice up?
Well, I hope this comes off the right way, but I wouldn't say the word speedrunning. I know some people are going to disagree with that. It's just preference. I think it's not speedrunning when you first started out. It's just picking a game that you like or one of your favorite games and just be curious to see, how well I play. Like, maybe I know we said no death runs, because but like maybe there's a game, one of your favorite games where you just happen to die 8 times or or 5 times or whatnot, and you go like maybe I just want to try to die a little bit less and maybe just that, like, don't even look up the word speedrun or anything. Just try to play one of your favorite games and just see how well you do, and then give it another try. After you beat it, try to play it again, and then I think that's the first step. I hope that came off. I hope that came off okay. What's that?
If you complete the game and it's at all, then that's the fastest you complete the game.
Well, yeah. If you complete the game once and then you complete it a second time, yeah, you're on your way to PB. I think just going at your own personal best. I really like that word, PB. Like, because PB is just, there's so many variations of like, PB is not cosmic or some other top runner doing 4 minutes and 45 4 minutes and 55 seconds. A PB could be 7 minutes. A PB could be 6 minutes and 30 seconds. It's all in steps. I think beat the game twice, beat your favorite game twice, and then the third time just put a timer, and then just time yourself that third time, and then for that fourth time, you just then you start having like, okay, level 1 timer, level 2 timer. That's when you start doing like splits and stuff. I think that's the approach how I kind of like to do it. Like Zelda 1, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I'm just gonna play it again for fun, and then I'm gonna beat it a second time, and then third time I'm just gonna start using a timer, and then I'll start doing like dungeon, whatever, and then maybe I'll study some advanced, quote unquote, advanced or beginner strats that could, make my day a little bit easier.
Well, I'd like to point out that on the Mario 1 speedrun.com board, there is an accepted run of the race that we just did, Warps, of 1 hour and 38 minutes. And it is an accepted time. So whatever it takes for you to beat the game at your pace is fine. As long as you're feeling good about it and you're having a good time, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to beat it. I mean, if you want to learn how to speedrun it, then play it at your pace where you're enjoying it, and then I think faster next time.
I think that's the right way to put it. Is that everyone could be a speedrunner no matter what PB you get. I think that sums it up in what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. Is that is there's a game that you like. I think that's very important. Also, this is super important. That's probably the most important thing if you want a PB/speedrun, pick a game that has awesome music. Like that helps a lot. Pick a game that has great music that you enjoy the soundtrack, and you're gonna enjoy that game no matter how many times you play it.
I think that's good advice. I don't think that that's something I would have even really occurred to me. But I think that that's actually great advice. I guess on final, excuse me. I guess on final thoughts, are there any other final thoughts you guys would like to add to this that weren't addressed or weren't asked?
Yeah, I think it's great to make it this far. I know in I think it was like September we did a collab with Mazen, and that was really cool to work on. And in the when I did my short stream, I did thank Mazen in the description. He was very supportive of it. So, and I think I just think it's really cool that we kind of took a break, and we came back at it, and it's just a small collab. Like, it's not like brackets or anything. We would love to get that far where we could do like a fun bracket tournament, with 8 people. Mm-hmm. Like 8 people play Mario 1, or 8 people play this game, and we don't want to just limit to NES or Super Nintendo. Obviously there's TurboGrafx, there's like Bonk, Bonk's Adventure. That's like basically. Mm-hmm. That's like a Mario game. I never really played Bonk, and I would love to just like with these collabs, is like we're gonna start small and have like if there are 2 advanced Bonk players, let them play against each other, and let 2 beginners play each other. And Sega Genesis Sonic, I never beat Sonic 1. I'm honest, I admit it. That's a game I would like to explore. But I'm a beginner, so maybe me and another newcomer would love to play Sonic. That's great. If there's 2 people who are familiar with Sonic, mm-hmm. That's great too. Like I also want to show like appreciation to like different games or different systems as well, because I do feel like TurboGrafx and Sega Genesis kind of don't get the same love as Nintendo and Super Nintendo. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. I love the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, but me personally, I would love to explore TurboGrafx and Sega.
Well, I think that's a great idea. And by the way, Thumb, if you ever decide you're up for it, I'll run you in Sonic.
If anyone,
if you're a beginner, I mean, if you're a newcomer, if there's 4 newcomers to Sonic 1. We could do a little bracket fun tournament. Sure. With Sonic 1, and then just have a separate thing for the more familiar players with Sonic 1.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm really game for anything, you know, as long as the game has good music.
And I'm sorry, Running Retro. I apologize. You were also saying something in that.
Oh, I was just saying, I'll run for a Sega game. I'll run Shinobi 3 with someone.
Heck yes, that game is difficult for me, but I love it. So I may take you up on that too.
Eugene, ECMyers and I have talked about this, and I don't want to promise anything yet, but I think he's genuinely interested, and I'm genuinely interested, but he hasn't played Chippendale Rescue Rangers in a long time, and I've only played it through once, and then other than that single playthrough, I've maybe played it for 10 minutes. So he and I are talking about just literally no practice, pick it up and race it just for fun. And that is something that, honestly, that's one of my big interests is to just pick up some games that I've never played and interact with somebody. Like, if somebody else is interested in doing it, then that's going to encourage me to actually play the game, whereas I might not otherwise. And that's like a good example, I think, would be Pagane.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the last level and didn't beat it, and I like the game a lot, but I doubt that I'm going to beat it unless I have some reason to do so. But if somebody wanted to play Hagane and had not beaten it before, so we were sort of equal, I'd be more than happy to do it because I really enjoyed it. I just need to brush it up so I could actually beat it. And that, that's kind of the.
But I think for the next time, this was all a learning experience. But as Running Retro pointed out earlier on, that maybe this kind of stretched a little bit too much. I think the point is, it's not about winning or losing. It's just about trying out new games or trying out something new in the game that you're kind of familiar with or that you just never had a chance to explore.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think just doing a month, like let's say Retro Room said to me just now, Sonic 1. I know I said I'm not going to do any racing in July, which I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe me and Retro Room could say, hey, let's start off in August. Let's do like a week, where we practice the game off stream for fun, try to get better at it,
mm-hmm.
and then we just do a warm up race the second week, and then maybe we come back maybe the third week right after, or depending. Maybe I feel like a month is a good time to pick up a game, try to get better at, and just do your best with the time that you have. I think that could be something we might need to hone in on.
What I'll say with Mario 1, I would never in my life have played Mario 1 as much as I have right now if it weren't for Thumb. And the fact that I had somebody who was interested in playing this game and was getting better, and I could listen to their progression and listen to their frustrations and also their breakthroughs. If I hadn't been able to play this game side by side with someone and actually see that I'm not the only person frustrated on 1-2 or what have you, like pick any one of the things that we died on multiple times today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of this stuff, if we hadn't talked about this and we hadn't had somebody else to sort of misery loves company, and then also the successes love company too. And that, for me, these races, that's what they're about. They're about finding either somebody else or a bunch of other people and be like, look, either I'm already good at this game and so are you, and I can be, you only get better by playing better opponents, that kind of deal, when you start getting towards, top levels. Or in intermediate levels, okay, just you've got some skills in areas I don't, and let's just see how that runs out. And if there's some way I can help you break through your wall and you can help me break through mine. And then for beginners, I'd never play this game in my life, but somebody else wants to play it. So hey, let's do it. Why not? Like, any one of those things is all somebody else is encouraging you and you're encouraging them to do something you would not otherwise either do or be able to do. And for me, that's what this is all about.
and also that's 100% running retro. I would also add that maybe when it comes to speedrunning / personal best, maybe pick one game that you're really familiar with, but also one game where you're not that familiar with. So like, let's say Donkey Kong Country. It's a game I'm very familiar with. I'll play that, but then maybe I could alternate with like Sonic 1, which is a game I'm not that familiar with. So you kind of mix things up a little bit with a game that you know well, and then with a game that you might not know well at the moment, but you would like to know more well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe like you could do two at the same time a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all personal preference. I think for me, that's just something I would like to do.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to say really quickly, or I do want to say, I guess, in closing here, that I really, really appreciate you guys for having me on and allowing me to host this event. It was a ton of fun to watch, and I think I speak for the audience in chat to say that this was a really interesting and definitely fun race to watch. And GG to both of you for running the way that you did and for getting us, for being willing to have us be a part of that.
Yeah, thank you. And I can't wait to see this, to see the replay. Like, because I watched the replay with ECMyersVids, and I had a blast watching it. And I think I'm gonna have a blast watching this replay. I'm really looking forward to your commentary.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Too. This is gonna be really fun. This is gonna be really fun, relaxing. Just sit back and enjoy.
And as for me and running retro, I feel like I see like maybe 4 collabs a year is probably a good ballpark. I feel.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's a lot of work to get these collabs done and to get them organized. And it's a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work. And that is one of the things that I think we both hope is that, as we get more people, we can do more because less will be on each individual. And I think that, when we really get into a groove, that I do think racing or forming a collaboration with the same group of people more than 3 or 4 times a year is probably going to cause somebody to burn out. Fun as it is, it's a lot of work.
Definitely. But I do think that in this case it came together now. I think everybody's going to be looking forward to that. Well, like I said, thank you so very much for having me, both of you, and thank you for so much for helping put this event together for everybody. Also, thank you to everybody in chat who is here as a participant. Excuse me 1 second. Thank you for everybody who is here in chat, whether or not they were able to participate or lurk, and we definitely appreciate the support that you offered to the channel and to the racers, and thank you for cheering them on and helping to perpetuate this. And we certainly hope the Discord link is in the chat, of course, so we certainly hope to see more of you in the speedrunning community. I definitely know that there we are. I definitely know that the runners also appreciate that, and I hope that they've conveyed that. If you get an opportunity and you feel interested in some of these projects that they spoke about, please feel free to look at the links in my description to follow the Thumb Brothers on his quest to master as many games as possible, or Running Retro's ever-diminishing time budget on the Mario game, trying to get that game down to the lowest possible time. Both of them are awesome guys and amazing channels to watch, and also getting to take a look at some of that tech, by the way, on Running Retro. I should not negate or forget that. And if you should happen to want to, I don't want to always put this out there, but in this case, I think I might ask, if you do like these kinds of video games, watching them run, watching them played casually, feel free to drop by my channel and pay it a visit. Watch a couple of people or myself as a doofus, mess up a game 1,000 times, but it's really fun. Otherwise, thank you to everyone here, and I'm going to go ahead and wind this stream down. Let's see if we have some nice... let's see that here. There we are. Yeah, very nice. But yeah, thank you to everybody who let me be a part of this. Thank you to everybody who came, showed up, all that good stuff. Of course, we thanked him several times. I don't know if he made it in or got to watch, but if you get to see this afterwards, thanks to EC Myers for hosting the previous one, for doing this one, and also for the attributes and assets and everything that he contributed to making this the best experience that he could make it from where he was. This was a lot of fun. You guys feel free, like I said, to stop in, and we will see you guys next time.